Usually getting crunk up at the congregation. We'll be hooting and hollering and watching the Father bring the dollars in.
What's cracking, y'all? If you're watching this after the live, I'd forward about 10 minutes. Hope my sound levels are okay today. Should be fine. Man, this song is it right here. This song is what I'm talking about. I like this song. That's what I'm talking about. We got all the homies in here, man. That's tight. Just waiting for Klaus. Let's see here. Shout out to the legends. 9 people, 5 likes. I can appreciate that. 6 likes. Thank you very much. Gio for show. Great to see you. Mountain Man. Always a pleasure. Hit that like button. Yes, please hit that like button. Y'all will help me out that way. Yo, I can't wait for this stream. Well, we got a special presentation here of the Count of Monte Dowry, thanks to Dan the Man, who has used all his skills and a lot of time to give us a wonderful gold pill tale, amongst others. Peter Wright cracks a cider. That's what I'm talking about. Shout out to Peter Wright and the rest of the crew of Gold Pillars, where we don't stop. We just keep marching forward, and whoever's got something to say about it ain't gonna mean nothing. And we'll challenge them if we have to, and if they want to, you know, if they want to hear about it, we'll let them know. Michael Sand, good to see you. Hey, I watched your interview with the Mansplainers, with the Male Space and Dr. Baskerville. I appreciated your discussion. Really fun. Peter, not sure. Oh, there we go. But Steven talked about you. Yeah, that's right. Peter Wright was mentioned. Mountain Man Tops, you normally watch Post Millman? Yes. Oh, haven't seen Post Millman in a bit. Let's get it, Don DeMarco. We'll do one more song here. Just patiently waiting for Klaus to show up. Anytime, Klaus. We got 14 people in here missing Klaus, though. Rusty Rivers, man, what's up? Avalanche. That's what I'm talking about. Mr. Kevin G, good to see you. Sorry, sometimes my... Oh, here we go. It just reloaded. All right, we got Rusty Rivers. Pleasure to see you, Rusty River. That's a cool profile picture right there. Avalanche, Mr. Pitt. Always a pleasure. Definitely helped get this stream to somewhere further than it would otherwise be. Mr. Kevin G, cool profile picture. I like the suit. Another great Dan the Man right here. Looks like Dan the Man really liked Michael Sand's interview. I was horrible. I have to slow it down next time. I know that feeling, Michael, because when you watch it back, but most of the people watching it for the first time aren't going to hear it that way, but I know what you mean. I try to do that myself. Shout out to you, man. I heard the interview. Great discussion. Awesome. Yo, okay, Klaus is here. Finally. Thank you, Klaus. It ain't a show without Klaus. So after this song, we can get it going. We can get it going. Oh, man. So, well, I'll wait for the song to end, I guess. We got some YouTube videos. We got some Instagram, brain rot. We got a story from Dan the Man. So we're chilling. Yo, yo, yo. What the heck?
Don't let love blind you. It's a wild stampede. A little good advice is the one thing.
All right. Cool. You know what? Klaus is here. We can just get the fun started. So I got 2 videos. So, you know, it's pretty much about gray divorce, and I saw these over the past couple weeks, but didn't really have the time to look at them. So this one is about the gray divorce gap nobody warns women about. So it's kind of women focused, but I thought maybe we can possibly learn some stuff. I haven't watched the whole thing. It may be gynocentric claptrap. And then we got this one, elderly divorce is rising. So for some reason, elderly divorce is skyrocketing in the U.S. So I don't know. Something's going on, but it ain't looking good for the ecclesiastical folks if this is true. I don't know. We're going to see what it has to say. I haven't actually watched them yet. So fair, you know, thing there. And then later on, we're going to be able to take a look at this. A gold pale tale, the Count of Monte Dowry. How exciting does that look? There's the Count himself. And this is an adapted discussion here. This is, of course, by Dan the Man. We got this character here who looks suspiciously like Paul Elam. And we got a woman here who comes with more than just the clothes on her back. She seems to have some legal documents here that hopefully are not a petition for divorce dissolution, but instead deeds to some property. So that's exciting. There's the Chateau d'If in the background. Here's the gold pill. How exciting is this? An epic tale of revenge, redemption, and parody. So yeah, we got that coming. So I'm thinking maybe we'll watch this first one, then we'll watch this one. I also do have a discussion about some lady and how she had kids and became anti-natalist. This may come off the heels of that whole Lindsay Clancy thing. I haven't looked too deep into that, but I keep hearing about it. And, well, it doesn't sound good, frankly. So, yeah, that's where we're at for the night. So we're going to have a fun time. Mr. Pitt says, like the video. Yes, please hit that like button. That helps me. Hopefully sound is good. We got 16 people watching. We got 14 likes. That's actually fantastic. We're at a high percentage of like to viewer ratio. That's what I want to see. Okay, we got that. Yep. Michael saying did well. Timmy C. Always great to see Timmy C. I got an Instagram funny for you that you might like. Yo, Heroes Forge, great to see you, man. Heroes Forge has been knocking it out lately. Banger opening songs, thank you so much. Bonsoir to Heroes Forge from Don DeMarco. Mike is in the house. Yeah, 15K. He's past the 15K mark, so his channel is going places. Let's see here. The guy's name is also Shah. Yeah, this Neil K. Shah is the YouTuber's name here for this first one. Watched your video today on White Knights in the Pulpit. Great job, Mike. By the way, I also want to give a little bit of shine to Dan the Man here, who he's been making some good videos. I like his videos. Dang it. Where did you share that at? Yeah, so this is Dan the Man's third video right here. So pretty sick. I like this mushroom stuff, and he actually talked about the Lindsay Clancy thing, which I thought was pretty cool. But we got to get Dan the Man some more comments, views, and likes on this video. So I'm gonna share that in the chat for the folks to watch later after the stream. Okay, and then we have a new, that's a video coming out. Yeah, so cool. All right, right on. I don't think I'm missing anything else. So sick. Okay, right on. So we're here. We're ready to get it. Gotta check out some Dan stuff. Yeah, absolutely. I've been liking Dan stuff, man. Dan and Chris Stelzer. That's another brother of ours that has been starting to make videos. Let me see if I can go ahead and share his. Dang it. Oh, right here. Here's Chris Stelzer. You know, I've seen him on Twitter for a bit, but he's got 2 subscribers. But I'm liking his channel. He made a great video today called This Kills Relationships, and I actually really liked it. So I'm going to actually share his video from today in the chat too. So guys, I'm telling you, this is one of the guys right here. So if you guys want to, give him a like, just give him a listen. You don't have to subscribe right off the bat. Don't do it just because I'm telling you. But listen to the video. Think about it. Maybe while you're getting ready in the morning, having some coffee. Like, did this video hit? If the answer is yes, then, let's get him more than 2 subscribers, man. He's that new, So, all right. Well, legends. Let's go ahead. Let's just see what Rusty Rivers got to say. He says, divorce rate overall has been falling simply because marriage rates are falling. Excellent. Excellent. At least legal marriage rates, so they need to fix that. But almost 30% of the 45% divorce rate is happening for people over 50. Yikes. Yeah, that's not fun right there. That's a tough time to get divorced, I tell you. I mean, that's a tough time. So, but we're going to learn a little bit about it. This might be gynocentric. Apparently, it's tougher for the women. Oh, it's so hard. The divorce gap. We need more money from the men. So, yeah, we got that. There's little concentrated wealth for millennial women to get. Gen X women, on the other hand, have plenty of cash and prizes to get. I see. Isn't that the Catch a Predator guy? Not sure. After my 3rd video, I did some more learning. There are a lot more conservative women who support Lindsay than I imagine. Yeah, your video, you had a clip in here from with Candace Owens that I thought was, and she was basically saying, I mean, I don't really watch her show, but here's the video proof.
Your girl Corinne writes, I know you're busy, but I'd love to know your thoughts on a Lindsay Clancy case in Massachusetts. I made my thoughts clear on this the moment that she was arrested, the moment that it made the news. Lindsay Clancy is obviously not guilty. There are a fleet of doctors who should be imprisoned for what they put her on. I regularly speak out against Big Pharma. They get away with murder all the time. And in this case, they are getting away with the murder of really her 3 children, but also completely destroyed her life. When Lindsay Clancy, in my opinion, is not guilty.
Okay. Dude, that's hard evidence of her saying this stuff.
Shout out to Dan the Man. Yeah, I mean, Candace Owens is sharp. She's sharp, right? We know that. But, there's a whole lot of deflecting accountability there for that lady. I mean, at a certain point, it's like, well, yeah, we know you're under tough circumstances, but what you did was wrong. And, you did that and made a decision to do that. So it's super odd. Shah, where is the cigar and pizza? That's what we really need. We need a cigar, honestly. It's been a while. I did make some homemade ice cream today, so that'll be my indulgence. Yeah, totally wild how many conservative women support the murderer. Yeah, I mean, I hate to say I wasn't expecting that. But I kind of wasn't expecting that. I mean, not from Candace Owens. That was like, oh, okay, that's a little odd. Dan, I'm going to take a look at your show. Awesome. That's what I want to see. That's Dan, Michael. That's Dan. Yo, Govind Zachariah. Women will never be satisfied. Pleasure to see you here in the chat. Govind sent me some videos about the bride price in China, and we'll react to those probably next week. So we got a good 6 videos for that. Candace, it's always a conspiracy, Owens. Yeah, I mean, how far up the chain are you going to blame here? You know what I mean? It was the doctors and this, and that's why she did it. And guys, you just don't understand the postpartum depression. And, I don't know. But it seems pretty guilty to me. Admittedly, I have to look into it a bit more. But from what I've heard and seen, in other news, ABBA, from ABBA and Preach, he seems to have a 4th or 5th woman that released a 57-minute video, pretty much detailing his, oh gosh, how do I open this? Right click, new tab. I'm always I actually watched part of this today. So yeah, ABBA's got another woman that he apparently impregnated and, did the rigmarole on. So yeah, I thought about reacting to it, but single mom, has 2 million subscriber YouTuber coming after her. Wonders why he's going after her when he can get so many women. They meet once. She flies out there. She gets pregnant. All of this is happening at the same time the other women were getting pregnant. So, you know, that's something there in the background. But, yeah, let's go and get this party started. So, gray divorce gap. Let's see what we got going on.
Everyone will tell you that a late life divorce is a fresh start. But the research says that for one person
Does everybody say that? Maybe they do.
at the table, it's closer to a financial cliff. When couples over the age of 50 split, the woman's standard of living drops about 45%, while the man's drops about 21%. Same divorce with a wildly different landing. And there's a single number, the number 10, that can decide whether you collect tens of thousands of dollars from a marriage that lasted decades or nothing at all. And the one asset almost everyone fights to keep in a divorce, that is often the very thing that quietly bankrupts them.
Yo, shout out Luke Nielsen. Great to see you, brother. Dang, more allegations against Abba and Preach. All I know is Myron is going to have a field day. Yeah, I bet. Well, you know, it's just, for me, it's interesting because the thing that I kind of see from it is that what I remember about Abba specifically, because I used to watch Abba and Preach. Like, I was actually subscribed to the channel even like before COVID happened, you know? And their content was way different back then. Like, they were way more hardcore red pilled, especially Abba. And they would go in. Like, it was like actually like really funny. Damn it, where's my audience laughter? Anyways, but then like when they started getting big, it changed, you know what I mean? And I guess I get it. They started getting a lot of attention, and then suddenly it was like, well, you know, maybe the other side has a point too. And it started to be a lot more middle of the road. It got less funny for me. So I had unsubscribed kind of around then, you know what I mean? And it just took a different turn than how I remember it. And I remember Abba being extremely red-pilled. Like, he really was. And I don't know, I just kind of see this and I'm like, you know, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like, I felt like a lot of where that channel went was just kind of to accommodate the mass viewership that it got, and they kind of had to tailor the message a bit. You know what I mean? Now, I'm not saying it's good to do what he did, but he's acting in like a very Machiavellian way, in a way that seems to be contrary to some of the stuff espoused on his channel. You know what I mean? So just odd story there. A bit risque. So anyways, back to this gray divorce.
Here's what I'm going to walk through in this video. The ability to see the traps before you're standing in them, and the exact questions to ask, so a fresh start.
Oh, well, if you want to see the traps before you're standing in them, then you got to ask yourself this.
Your dowry, it's my right.
If you don't see that, then yeah, you're going to be standing in the trap. You know, you got to ask yourself this question.
Which one of these broads has the richest father?
Yeah. Yeah, Dan remembers. That was way back then. So Abba's basically like a... See, and I hate to say undercover red pillar, because, like, you know, if you want to go with the praxeology route, then yeah, the red pill doesn't say do this or do that. But he's always had this very realpolitik view, especially about women, in my opinion, at least from what I saw way back then. And, you know, I think that's kind of how he ended up on Fresh and Fit, because they probably saw some of that way back then, and the audiences were growing, things were changing, and, you know, the rest is history with that. But yeah, then I just noticed it changed, and it felt different, but I was like, well, you know, they got the cash cow over here now. Graham Millar. Hi, Graham. Tribal rallying reveals women are not real conservatives. Apolitical women are better than political-minded women. You know, I can understand that. Yeah, I would rather take the apolitical. Like, oh, I don't have an opinion on that. Fantastic. So anyways, yeah.
Doesn't become a 30-year money problem. In the next few minutes, I'll show you why divorce among people over the age of 50 has
They used to criticize other men less. Welcome in, Jax. Good to see you.
doubled. In the next few minutes, I'll show you why divorce among people over the age of 50 has doubled while it's falling for everyone younger. I'll explain the Social Security rule so unforgiving that finalizing your divorce even 1 month too early can erase a benefit worth 6 figures over a lifetime.
Wow, that's interesting.
And I'll tell you why keeping
Sounds like it's probably a benefit for women, but we'll see.
the family home, the thing that feels like stability, is one of the most common financial mistakes people make on the way out. If you know someone standing at this crossroads, please send them this video before they make any major decisions. It could be the most valuable 15 minutes of their entire year. I'm Neil K. Shah, a Johns Hopkins and NIH-funded caregiving researcher and the CEO of Cariaya. I've helped thousands of families navigate
We got John Hopkins in here.
aging, dementia, and serious illness. And money is almost always the fault line running underneath all of that.
Dang it, I just realized, the heck.
I'm not a clinician and I'm not an attorney. I'm a
Okay, so he just said money is the fault line running through all of this.
aging, dementia, and serious illness. And money is almost always the fault line running underneath all of that. I'm not a clinician and I'm not an attorney.
Okay,
I'm
yeah, so money problems, I mean, it sounds like is creating the stress, right?
Your dowry, it's my right.
a researcher and innovator in caregiving, and my job is to hand people the map so that people can watch this and learn instead of learning it the hard way. So let's start with the thing that surprises people the most, the scale of this. For decades, divorce in America has been declining. Younger couples are marrying later in life, more deliberately, and splitting up less. So you'd expect divorce among older adults to be falling too. Well, it's doing the opposite. Researchers at Bowling Green State University, Susan Brown and I-Fen Lin, who essentially named this field, found that the divorce rate for adults over 50 doubled between 1990 and 2010. For people over 65, it nearly tripled. In 1990, roughly...
For people over 65, okay, nearly tripled. I mean, I guess it depends on what the rate was before that, before we get too excited. But it's trending up.
1 in 12 people getting divorced was over 50. Today, it's closing in on 4 in 10.
Wow.
They call it the gray divorce revolution. And, the part that makes it a real trend and not just...
Time to cash out. I mean, the one guy, I didn't want to bring him up again, but the Dry Creek Wrangler guy, that's another gray divorce right there.
The blip. It's still climbing for the oldest group, the 65 plus. And these aren't short marriages.
This is Neil K. Shah, Neil K. Shah's channel. Yo, Brute Man, welcome in. Good to see you, brother. Conservatism in women is traditionalism, chastity and prioritizing family over career. That's what a conservative woman looks like. And also this.
There was a dowry or a bride price.
But yes, I hear you.
That are flaming out. When a first marriage ends in a gray divorce, the median length is 29 years, and a full quarter of them lasted 37 years or more.
I want to hear that stat one more time.
Aren't short marriage a blip? It's still climbing for the oldest group, the 65 plus. And these aren't short marriages that are flaming out. When a first marriage ends in a gray divorce, the median length is 29 years, and a full quarter of them lasted 37 years or more.
Wow, man, these are some real numbers right here.
Let that land for a second. People are walking away from marriages that are older than grown children. Why is the one generation that's supposed to be settling down splitting up faster than anyone? Well, part of it is simple math.
I mean, if you can't even look up to your elders, it ain't looking good. I'll tell you what, it's not looking good at all. The dowry has to come with huge tracts of land. Exactly.
Living longer. When Brown's team looked at the drivers, the real answer was less dramatic than headlines. It wasn't mainly the empty nest or the retirement or a health scare. Those weren't the strong predictors. What predicted it was the marital quality itself, and whether it was a first marriage or a later one. Remarriages fail at roughly 2.5 times the rate of first marriages, and the baby boomers remarried more than any generation before them, so kind of stacking the deck against their favor. Add 30 years of life expectancy since your grandparents' era, and a marriage today that's merely tolerable at age 50 looks very different when you realize you might be living with it until age 90. And now Generation X is walking into the same zone right now.
Gosh, no-fault divorce, man, has done a number on society. It's, I mean, because it's like everybody else looking at this, it's like if you're going to look and see at the elderly people and they're starting to split up in their 60s, why would you do that then? It's like, why? It's so hard to sell the idea here of marriage. Hey, Mr. Kevin G, thank you so much for that super chat. Salute, good brother. I'd like to send a RIP to all my I Want Burning Desire ninjas. the women are happy being free. Yeah, you know, I was kind of thinking about it recently myself, and whatever it is that we call marriage today is just so broken. It's really unfortunate, you know. Um, and you know, a lot of people just have this real wishy-washy view of looking at things, or it's really bad. It makes me think about a male space, because he always talks about how much of a disaster like dating is in terms of like boyfriend girlfriend, and you know, I just don't see that leading to good things for, you know, as far as long-term marriages goes, and how it was for generations past. Unfortunately, the generations past we have still living are going through a bunch of great divorces. But yeah, the burning desire, that ain't looking good. Talk about a risk. Thank you for that super chat. I do appreciate the support to the channel, man. That means a lot. I'm gonna add that $4.99 to the dowry chest. Since dowry was their father's inheritance, chances are it was land. I'd play the sound effect, Luke, but man, it gets me every time. The old copyright. I've been good. I'm just waiting for Shah to read my new story. Oh yeah, that story's coming up. All right, back in.
Carrying its own high divorce history from its 30s and 40s. So this wave may not be cresting anytime
Yeah, I can hear what you're saying, Michael, on that. I hear what you mean. That's what I mean by as we do it today.
soon. Now that's the background.
So it's not cresting anytime soon? Come on.
The same zone right now, carrying its own high divorce history from its 30s and 40s. So this wave may not be cresting anytime soon. Now that's the background. To understand how we got here, you have to understand that for most of American history, walking away wasn't even an option.
Yeah, well, that's back when we had marriage laws that made sense. I mean, you didn't walk away unless you had a good reason. So that makes sense. You know, when you create a conjugal fund and estate and you sign a contract together and, you know, till death do you part and all these other things.
Before 1970, you couldn't just get divorced because you were unhappy.
Yes, that wasn't a good enough reason. Man, my heart's still dying for the cowboy Dry Creek dude. Yeah, me too. Even though, like, you know, he said all that stuff and I get it, but I just feel bad because I guess I believe deep down that he believed what he was saying. So watching what happened to him is really watching a man's world come crashing down, you know. So it's pretty bad.
You had to prove someone was at fault. Adultery, cruelty, abandonment.
Yes, there had to be an injured party and you needed evidence.
Things like that. Often in open court and often, you know, something humiliating. So a
the
strange
humiliation
industry sprang up in the desert. Nevada, that was hungry for revenue, slashed its residency requirement to just 6 weeks in 1931.
Yeah, then you got forum shopping, state shopping. So people would be like, all right, we really want to get divorced. We don't got a good reason. Let's go hang out in Nevada for a bit. So it just kind of led to this sort of dilemma. And then when people got the hang of it, at fault, I guess, started really getting injured from that.
The same legislative session that actually legalized open gambling.
Is he talking about back in the day when her dowry was my right? No, he's just talking about at fault time. So little further back.
Dowry, it's my right.
Finally, Reno became the divorce capital of the world.
Man.
You'd move into a ranch for 6 weeks, establish residency, walk into the county courthouse, and walk out single. More than 30,000 divorces were granted there in the 1930s alone. The Vanderbilts, Rockefellers, movie stars like Rita Hayworth all made the pilgrimage to Nevada.
Wow.
That whole world ended in 1969 when the governor of California signed the nation's first true no-fault divorce law. You can now end a marriage over irreconcilable differences.
That's no fault.
Required. Who was the governor who signed it? Ronald Reagan, himself divorced from the actress Jane Wyman. Within about 15 years, nearly every state followed, and New York held out until 2010. Ronald Reagan later said that signing that law was one of the biggest regrets of his political life because divorce rates more than doubled in the year after. You know, so hold that thought, by the way, that easy divorce is not the same as safe to divorce, because there's a difference between easy and safe, and that's kind of the through line of this entire video.
I hear you, Michael. We're working on it over here. The humble gold pillar folks are working on that, Michael. We do appreciate the silver pill's help on that. Generation Beta / Gamma is cooked. It is. You're right. That's very. Yes. See, that's what I want to hear, Gio. It's definitely you're right.
Your dowry, it's my right.
And there's nothing wrong with asking this question.
Which one of these broads has the richest father?
And there's also nothing wrong with rolling your eyes and, you know, saying, well, yeah, all right, well, we don't got nothing to talk about when you hear this.
I have no dowry. If anything, I have a negative dowry.
Okay, so, you know, these are all things we're paying attention to. I truly believe boomers are the biggest simps. I think you're right about that. I think you're right.
Now the number that surprised me. When Lynn and Brown in that research followed real couples throughout the Health and Retirement Study, which is the gold standard government-funded survey that tracks Americans as they age, they found that after a gray divorce, women's standard of living fell about 45%. Men's fell only about 21%. So
I wonder if he's going to talk about who initiates the divorce. And then you guys, well, it doesn't matter because you don't know what happened, or they might have driven that person to initiate the divorce. You don't know what the other person's actions were. They drove that person to cheat on their spouse. You don't know what else was going on. It was the doctors that drove her to do that. Oh no. Well, you can't say just because they initiated it.
if it's the same event, why is it roughly double the damage for the woman?
I don't know, work ethic? Maybe because they went into the marriage with this?
I have no dowry. If anything, I have a negative dowry.
That might be something.
Both sexes lost around half their total wealth in the split.
Thank you, Heroes.
But men's finances tended to recover quickly and women's largely didn't. Why? Because the main thing that reversed the loss was repartnering. And within 10 years, only about 22% of women repartnered versus 37% of men.
Sounds like a decision problem then. Okay. Well, you know, they're out here doing it on their own and they just love the peace and the freedom. And oh no, my financial situation's not that well. Oh no, I actually have to work. You wasn't leading right. Cesar Quintana, thank you so much for that. 1999. I appreciate that generosity. Exactly. You just weren't leading right. Man, you know, see, that's the interesting thing about the Lindsay Clancy case. I haven't looked at it that much because I was like, oh man, you know, what do I have? As soon as I heard what it was, I was like, this is pretty heinous. Like, I don't know how deep I got to look into this, but the part of the story is about how many people that are coming out to make excuses, you know, and somehow blame it on somebody else. And the you wasn't leading right is exactly that, you know. Chris Stelzer, whose channel we just featured, had a great discussion about this conversation about accountability with women today, which I really appreciated. But again, thank you so much for that generous super chat. Going to add that to the dowry chest. And I appreciate seeing you. It's always a blessing. Just make sure, Bratton, to listen to Dontavius. Exactly.
You gotta stay gaming, bro.
He's got it figured out.
No girl, just stay gaming.
He really does. Brute Man says, prior to the 1900s in Britain, to divorce your spouse, you needed special permission from Parliament. Yes, that's true. Marriage was for life. However, there were quite a few abandoned spouses and bigamists then. Yeah, it was. You know, divorce became legal in the newly born United States than when it was in England. And, you know, even back then for the U.S., you had to go to the state legislature. But yeah, you're right. I mean, you'd have to have a special act of parliament to get divorced back then. So that was the whole thing. Thanks for that history. Michael said, well, hold on a second. I am a simp. Wait a minute. Okay. All right. Hold on. I am a simp because I was raised by a single mom who taught me chivalry and how to worship women. You know what? I can respect the honesty there, and step one is dealing with it. But I think you can safely say you were a simp. I don't think you're a simp now, you know. Same with the rest of the boomers born in my era. We were the first products of single moms. Gosh. Yeah. You know, that's another thing I've been thinking about lately, too. Thanks for that comment. Or it was the drug shot, very possibly. According to Candace Owens. Cool shade, Shah. You look cool. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I was going to take them off because I was like, man, these do look too cool. These do look really cool. I don't know, how much we were gonna go with that, but then I realized it was actually kind of nice because I got studio lights right in front of me, and I was like, I actually kind of appreciate being well lit and not, Now that's only about 20% of it. 80% of it was because I wanted to look cool. Well, I gotta be honest. I can't sit here and lie about that. Anyways, moving back.
So I want to be precise here that 45% comes from data they collected between 2004 and 2014. So hold the exact number a little loosely. The direction has been confirmed again and again, including by a federal government accountability office report. But the precise magnitude could shift with newer data, since that's over a decade old. Okay. And there's counter evidence. When AARP surveyed people who divorced at midlife, 76% of the women and 64% of the men said it was the best decision they could have made. Women initiated about 2/3 of these splits. So, this is...
one thing Dr. Baskerville says, so he says 2/3 of the split, which, okay, more or less commensurate. Might have been around 70%. But Dr. Baskerville, I believe, and I got to find the source on this. I should just ask him, is when there's children involved, it's even close to like 100% is initiated by women when there's children involved. So I'll have to look at that, but I don't want to misquote him, but I believe he has said that before. So something to think about there. Michael Saint says, once a simp, always a simp. Listen, I can respect, being tough on yourself. But I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I think you've done an exemplary job of shedding the simp conditioning. W. Julius Caesar. Oh, yeah. Chris Stelzer. Oh, here he is. Chilling with my son, but wanted to give a like for Shah. Have a good evening. We'll catch the replay. Not sure if you're still in here, but we got your channel pulled up right here, Chris. So, yeah, I did share it with the folks. I'm going to put it in here one more time. We got to get Chris some more subscribers. Really liking his discussions, okay? So, yes. Yeah, shout out Oikophobic Misanthrope. Thanks for popping in. We're having a fun one today. All right, back to this.
By no means a message to telling you to stay in a marriage that's making you miserable. Freedom and relief are real, and they do show up in the data too. But the message is narrower and more useful than just don't. It's don't walk out financially blind. People could be right about the marriage and still get wrecked by the math. And to understand why the math tilts against women specifically, we have to go back, further back than you'd think.
Oh, we definitely got to go back. We got to go this far back.
Your dowry, it's my right.
I agree, Mr. Neil K. Shah. We need to go back.
American wife had almost no separate financial existence. Under an old English legal doctrine called coverture, when a woman married, her legal identity was essentially absorbed into the husband's. She couldn't own property in her own name, couldn't sign a contract, couldn't keep her own wages.
See, that part I take a little bit with. I mean, they had their dowries. The dowry was always their property. Now, the husband did have usufruct over it. If there was some kind of dissolution and it wasn't her fault, he would have to pay her back that. So the whole woman couldn't own property thing, it's a little, I'd say it's a little bit more nuanced than that.
Everything flowed through the man. That began to crack in 1848 when New York passed the Married Women's Property Act, letting a married woman own property in her own name, and other states slowly followed over the following decades. So think about how recent that is. Potentially even your great-great-grandmother may have been born into a world where a wife legally couldn't own the roof over her head. I raise that not just as a history lesson for its own sake, but because the architecture, a system built assuming the husband holds the assets and the income, didn't vanish. It got baked into one of the most important programs in older American life, and that's where the second big trap is hiding. Remember what I said earlier, that number 10 from the beginning? So here it is. Social Security has a rule for divorced spouses.
Okay.
To claim benefits on your ex's earnings record, your marriage must have lasted at least 10 years.
Yes.
Not 9 years and 11 months, 10 years.
Because that's when it crosses over into a long-term marriage.
Grace period, no rounding up, not close enough.
So if you're going to get divorced, you better be super strategic about it so you can get the most money. But then they get mad at guys when they're like, well, when you get married, you should make sure she brings something that isn't just the clothes on her back. Then suddenly you're a bad guy. But when it's the woman getting divorced, it's like, well, hey, you better make sure you wait 2 months. You better make sure to pour milk in his cereal for a couple more weeks so you can hit that 10 years.
There are people who finalize a divorce a few weeks early, sometimes just to be done with it, and unknowingly walk away from a benefit that could be worth well over $100,000 across a retirement. Here's how it works, and it's genuinely generous if you don't mess it up. If your marriage lasted 10 years, and you're currently unmarried, and you're at least 62 years old, and your own benefit would be smaller, you can claim up to half of your ex-spouse's full benefit, and if your ex has passed away, up to 100% as a survivor. You can do this even if your ex has remarried. It doesn't reduce their check by a single dollar, and they never even have to know. It's one of the few places where the system quietly works in a divorced person's favor if you know it exists. And more than 4 in 10 people approach retirement don't know it exists. Why does a rule this consequential hinge on an arbitrary decade?
Brewman, exactly. The husbands under coverture own their dowry even after marriage. The women, it would have been their dowry, but the management of the dowry was the responsibility of the husband. Yes, that's they have usufruct on it, on the incomes derived from that, or whatever the dowry happened to be. It would get invested into certain things. It's not like he could just go spend it at the tavern. You know what I mean? I'm gonna smoke cigars with this, or something. That he could end up in court doing that and have to be ordered to pay it back. So yeah, looking back at that, I kind of see that, women were never able to own nothing, as a bit of a feminist exaggeration.
Because of a decision made in 1939. The original Social Security Act of 1935 paid only the worker. 4 years later, Congress added spousal and survivor benefits, and they built them around the family of that era, which was a male breadwinner, a wife at home, and a marriage that lasts for life. Divorced spouses weren't included at all at first. The 10-year rule was a later patch on a program that was never designed with a 40% gray divorce rate world in mind. So when a divorced woman today falls through that gap, she's colliding with an 80-year-old assumption about what family looks like. There are policy experts who argue that the 10-year threshold should be shortened to reduce poverty amongst divorced older women. There are others who argue that expanding it would add significant cost and set a difficult precedent. So reasonable people disagree. And my job here is just to make sure you know the rule exists before it decides your retirement for you. Which brings us to the trap that feels the most like safety and behaves the most like quicksand. The house. In many divorces, one spouse, often the wife, especially if kids or grandkids are in the picture, fights to keep the family home. It feels like keeping stability, keeping memories, keeping the ground underneath.
Man, little suspicious of this guy. He'll make every excuse, but okay, we're gonna finish it.
But financial planners have a blunt name for what the house can become after a divorce: the marriage museum. Here's the problem in one sentence. Retirement accounts generate income, and a house generates expenses. When you trade away your share of a pension or a 401k in order to keep the home, you can end up as house rich and cash poor.
I'm just having trouble feeling sorry for anybody, like for the women here, because that's what they want. They want to get the divorce. They want to keep the house, but you have to buy out. The house is split in half. Even if he paid for the entire house, the house, value is split in half in terms of how it gets divvied up. So they either have to put it on the market and sell it, or she's got to buy him out, or he's got to buy her out. So yeah, if she doesn't have the money to do that, then she's going to give up one other thing and say, okay, fine. Instead of taking half of his retirement or something, then let's let him keep that so that I can keep the house. And anybody who owns a home knows that you got to fix stuff on your house. You know what I mean? The trees got to be trimmed. I had to bring one of those down yesterday. I had to hire people for that. Things need to be changed, paint. The AC needs to get fixed. The sink is leaking. That needs to get fixed. Got to, fumigate, get some pesticides going around here. A lot of different things, you could just think of I got to get the bathroom redone. Got to get the kitchen redone. All this kind of stuff. So yeah, but that's supposed to just be common sense. Like you should just if you want to be a homeowner, you're supposed to know that going in. It's like buying a car, you know? Yes, there's going to be car maintenance. Like none of this is a mystery. Michael Sand says, this guy is a simp. I changed my mind. Compared to this guy, I am a gladiator. What is, yeah, I mean, it's honest to God truth. It's the honest to God truth. But I get it. You know, he's going for the woman audience. Maybe it's a good strategic move, but you know, whatever.
Sitting on an asset that you can't eat, that has property taxes, insurance, and a new roof all coming due, and no income stream to cover them. The rule of thumb that planners use is don't keep the house unless you can comfortably afford it on your own for at least 5+ years. So run that math before you fall in love with keeping it. And there's a second, sharper edge on that house that almost nobody sees coming.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically asking people, hey, be more financially responsible. Like, let's hope they're more financially responsible. Klaus says, I'd like to see a statistic who and why the divorces of old people are happening. Yeah, I'd be interested too. I mean, it sounds like a bunch of no-fault divorces. That would be interesting, you know. But listen, in the era of, you know, Lindsay Clancy type women, maybe it's something derivative of that. Maybe it's the pharmaceuticals, Klaus, you know, I don't know. Could very well have something to do with that. I'm sure if you heard them, they'd give you plenty of reasons why they decided to do that, you know.
A tax trap that's buried in the timing. When a married couple sells their home, they can currently shield up to $500,000 of profit from capital gains tax. The moment you're single, that shield is cut in half to $250,000. So picture a home bought decades ago for like $200,000, now worth $900,000. That's a $700,000 capital gain. Sell it together before the divorce is final, and most of that gain is shielded from tax. Take sole ownership in a settlement and then sell it a year later as a single person, and suddenly nearly $500,000 is exposed to taxation, a bill that can vaporize the very equity that you fought so hard to keep. So same house, same price, wildly different outcomes, decided entirely by when you sell and what your filing status is that day. Tax rules shift, so please confirm the current exclusion with a tax professional, but understand the principle that in a gray divorce, you know, timing isn't just a small detail, it could be a real asset. And there's the gap that almost nobody plans for, health insurance. If you're divorcing before 65 and you've been covered under your spouse's employer.
Even in medieval Byzantine/Eastern Roman, medieval Armenian societies, women retained ultimate legal ownership of their dowries after marriage, not just in early modern England and early USA. Yes, it's true. Even in ancient Athens, that was true. De Augusta, our brother from Spain, he showed us some old Spanish legal codes. This was in my discussion with him and Paul Elam. That was a while ago. But it pretty much described the rights that the woman had over her dowry, especially if her husband, you know, wasn't managing it right. So, like, you couldn't, you know, he couldn't just go sell the farm tomorrow, so to speak. It had to be used for the purposes of really maintaining her in the household, you know, or used as means of production to create more money for the purposes of the household. So, like, the dowry is invested into the house. I kind of look at it as like the woman's dowry is used to procure or provide the means of production to keep the household going. So, yeah, interesting. Thanks for that.
Plan, that coverage ends. Medicare doesn't start until 65. So you have a bridge to build. Your options may be COBRA, the same plan, but now you pay the full premium yourself, which can sometimes run well over $1,000.
Dan the Man says, I want to know how much Kool-Aid did old women have to drink to think that getting a divorce at their age was a good idea? Yeah, I mean, it's I can't sit here and feel sorry for people, you know? You got to make better decisions. Or you know, you got to work, got to make some money. That's what they tell everybody else. Oh, you're not doing well? You know? So
a month, or getting on the Affordable Care Act marketplace, where divorce triggers a special 60-day enrollment window, and your subsidy is based on your new lower income. If you miss those 60-day deadlines, you can find yourself uninsured, you know, in exactly the age and the decade when medical costs may start to bite.
You know what they tell old men in this position? They say Walmart is hiring. So, you know, what's good for the can is good for the bottle. I mean, I thought that was the ethos this entire society has been running off for the last 50 years, possibly more. Luke Nielsen says there are several key factors: peri postmenopause, social media, other divorced women convince married women, etc. All to say women make choices on unreality / feelings. That's my suspicion, but can that be proved? Good question. Hi, Elena from The Boys. Shout out to Elena. Good to see you. Now that Elena is here, reminds me, go ask those guys she's associated with, Plutarch, Sandman, Pastor Nick. Shout out to them, the folks at the Resurgence. Even if she has the dowry and does the right things, it's not a guarantee that she gets what she wants. Well, what she wants can... I don't think, what she wants can fill, an entire black hole, possibly. I don't know. I hope that made some sense. TD Boy, hey, good to see you, man. My wife told me today she isn't divorcing me because we would be broke and the kids would be sad. I guess this is when... Did she really say that to you today? Man, I'm sorry about that, bro. Man. Sorry about that, TD Boy. Shout out to you, though, man. I appreciate seeing you in here. You're one of the brothers, man. Wow, you did well. You have a woman which can factor consequences in her decisions. Well, yeah, hey, that's a glass half full way of looking at it. Thanks, Klaus.
And because premiums and subsidy rules change, please check the current numbers, when you're in this situation. Don't rely on last year's premiums. And the quietest landmine of all, the QDRO. That's a Qualified Domestic Relations Order, the specific court order required to split an employer retirement plan like a 401k or a pension without triggering taxes and penalties. Here's what wrecks many people. A divorce decree alone does not divide that pension. You need the QDRO drafted correctly, filed and approved. Pull money straight out of a 401k to pay a former spouse, without one of those in place, and the IRS can treat it as an ordinary taxable withdrawal. Income tax on the whole amount, plus a 10% penalty if you're under 59.5. So on a $200,000 split, that mistake alone can cost more than $70,000 in taxes and penalties that may have never needed to happen. And it gets worse with pensions. If the order doesn't specifically name you as a surviving beneficiary and your ex dies first, your entire monthly lifetime pension can vanish overnight. Decades of payments gone because of a missing paragraph. If your ex retires, remarries, or empties the account before the order is approved, the money you were promised can simply evaporate. This is specialist work. Plenty of general divorce attorneys don't draft these well. This may be one of the most common places where a fair settlement on paper can turn into far less in reality. One more insight that reframes every number on that settlement sheet. A $500,000 retirement account is not $500,000. Every dollar in a traditional 401k still owes income tax when you withdraw it. So at a typical retirement tax rate, that $500,000 might spend, like $375,000. A Roth account of the same size is already taxed, so it counts almost as just like the full 500. So when you're dividing assets, taking the house or the Roth while handing over the pre-tax 401k may be a smarter trade than an equal-looking split, because on paper they may match, but net result in your bank account they may not. Divide by spending power, not the sticker price.
I think his advice is interesting to women. At the same time, though, the other side of that is they're just looking for a faster, easier way to get somewhere to live and not have to worry about working to pay the bills. So it's like, I want to keep the house. They're not thinking about way down the line. It's just like, I don't want to work now until they absolutely have to. I've seen this happen too with women, where it's like they will push that off and live off the alimony, and they'll just go having a fun time for a long time until finally it's like, oh no, I got to try to figure out, some kind of work, and they don't got the money to do things. But that's just because they're not being responsible, basically.
So these things, the trend, the gender gap, Social Security, house, health insurance, the pension, that's the background.
My bad.
What should people actually do about it? Look beyond the emotion and build this in order. First, before you spend a single dollar, get informed for free. Use a SHIP counselor, SHIP, that's free, unbiased Medicare counseling, and read AARP's guides on divorce and Social Security. Start there because sometimes free counseling may surface a cliff, a Social Security threshold.
For all the guys out there that are marrying a rich physician woman or some type of lady like that, all this advice would probably apply to you also.
The coverage gap that you may not know about that could change your entire timeline and decision making. Second, build a complete marital balance sheet, every account, every pension, every debt, and get any pension professionally valued. Then value every account by its after-tax spending power, not just its sticker balance. A pension could be worth far more than the number on a statement, and it's routinely undervalued in settlements. And have a professional attorney submit the QDRO for the plan administrator's pre-approval during the negotiation.
Brute Man, hey, thank you so much for that 150 rupees, man. I appreciate that. Man, divorce is complicated. Yes, it is. And it makes life complicated too. Man, I got a buddy right now that's going through a real rough one. That's terrible. And it makes life complicated too. Much better to marry till death do us part. Makes life much more simpler and happier. Thank you so much for that, Brute Man. I appreciate that. Gonna add that to the dowry chest. Which might look suspiciously close to a cigar humidor. A humidor. But okay. I won't smoke it all up. Luke says, the right thing for me is MGTOW. For young men, maybe marriage if they can figure out a way around the legal contract and the other pitfalls with protection. It's rough goings out there. It certainly is. It certainly is.
Not after a decree, so that the account can't be quietly drained while the ink dries. Third, protect that 10-year Social Security line if you're anywhere close to it, and compare your own benefit against the ex-spousal and survivor options before you finalize timing. Fourth, map your health insurance bridge to 65 on paper. COBRA versus ACA Marketplace versus your own employer plan. Match those with deadlines on a calendar. Fifth, assemble a small team. An elder law attorney, you could find one through the National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys, and a certified divorce financial analyst, a CDFA, whose entire job is to model out how a settlement plays out over decades, not just at signing. And when it's safe to do so, with no hidden assets, no coercion, no severe power imbalance, favor mediation over litigation. It's usually much cheaper, faster, and far less corrosive to the family relationships, that you'll still need on the other side. Sixth, people forget this constantly. Update your beneficiaries, your will, your power of attorney, your healthcare.
Yeah, he's asking people to be responsible. Dang it. Hold on one second. I lost all my things. Yeah, I see your message there, oikophobic, about the, oh God, what is that? The Panama paternity law. I haven't looked into it too deeply other than to what you have provided in the Discord. So maybe we can look at that for a second. So yeah, this is something that oikophobic shared. Let me get my other chat back up. Oh God, so many screens. Shout out to the 26 people watching. Yeah, I thought this was interesting. So sanctioning paternity fraud in the Republic of Panama. The law is intended to sanction paternity fraud in order to guarantee the right to biological truth, good faith, and legal certainty. Paternity fraud is understood as deceitful conduct by which a person induces a man to acknowledge as his child a minor who is not biologically his, conceals, alters, falsifies, so causing moral or financial harm. I thought 6 was interesting. Once paternity fraud has been judicially declared, cancellation of the filiation record in the civil registry shall be ordered. So if they can prove paternity fraud, then they can sever that legal bond there from father and the child, from parent-child relationship. All future legal obligations of the affected party shall cease, and the minor's right to claim their true filiation shall remain protected, meaning they can go after the real biological father. So that's interesting there. I do wonder if there's exceptions. But it looks like it's a positive thing. So that's a good thing there. Thanks for sharing that with us. And at the end of the day, the kids suffer worse than the parents divorcing, and usually the man suffers a lot. But the kids are the biggest victims of this. Yeah, absolutely they are. And that goes on for years, Luke.
Proxy, all those immediately. Those do not change automatically when you divorce. Stale paperwork has previously sent life insurance payouts to an ex-spouse who everybody had forgotten was still listed. Now, you may have also seen scary headlines linking divorce to dementia. And here's the real truth. Some studies have found an association between late life divorce and worse health, more loneliness, even cognitive decline. But when researchers at Bowling Green dug into the cognitive question specifically, the apparent link for divorced women largely disappeared once they accounted for money, social support, and stress. So in other words, it may
So once they accounted for money, okay, so they worked and took some accountability.
not be the divorce that's harming the brain. It may be the poverty and the isolation that can follow it. I think that's a crucial distinction, and it may actually be good.
Okay, so having money troubles increases the likelihood of dementia for divorced
Truth.
women.
Some studies have found an association between late life divorce and worse health, more loneliness, even cognitive decline. But when researchers at Bowling Green dug into the cognitive question specifically, the apparent link for divorced women largely disappeared once they accounted for money, social support, and stress.
So if they didn't get a big enough payout as they thought they were going to get.
So in other words, it may not be the divorce that's harming the brain. It may be the poverty and the isolation that can follow it. I think that's a crucial distinction, and it may actually be good news. The financial and social fallout is something that people can plan against. Do not let anyone tell you that divorce causes dementia. The direct evidence doesn't support that. What the evidence supports is simpler and more actionable. Protect your money and your relationships, and you protect a great deal otherwise.
All right, protect your money. Protect your money, gentlemen.
Which one of these broads has the richest father?
Downstream health.
Brute Man, hey, thanks for that super chat. Another 150 rupees, man. I appreciate that. India is stated to have a divorce rate of 1%. Trust me, Shah, this is no longer the case in the year 2026. Divorce rates here have shot up a lot. I always remember hearing that divorce rates in India were very low and that divorce was very rare. It's unfortunate that it's shooting up a lot, and it's following what sounds like the same path as these other industrialized nations that are heavy on the feminism. So that may have taken root there. I mean, you're obviously seeing it in real time, so that part's unfortunate. The child from Graham Millar says, the child of a divorce carries a permanent wound, but also learns a permanent lesson. Yeah, that's where you see less people getting married, unfortunately. So thank you for that.
And here's the last thread that ties the whole mission together. A marriage is also quietly a caregiving arrangement. Often your spouse is the built-in future caregiver. End a marriage at age 70, and you may have just removed the person who...
Yo, that's crazy, man. So you sit there and you pay for everything so she can have everything, and then all of a sudden in the 60s, they just pull the ripcord and say, well, we don't want to take care of you, guy who worked hard to provide for this family while you're on your deathbed. We're going to elect out of that. Let's just get divorced now. So, the caregiving, because he's talking about caregiving, but he's talking about caregiving from one side. Once the divorce happens, it would seem like the guy typically kind of passes out first, if you know what I mean. And who's supposed to be there caregiving for him, but so be it.
Would have driven you to chemotherapy, manage your medications, noticed or helped you with a fall. That care doesn't disappear, it just shifts, usually onto adult children who are already stretched thin, what they call the sandwich generation, caught between their own kids and their parents.
See, that's another effect on the kids from the divorce. It's not even just about the children. When those children are adults, then they got to deal with a parent that's in a bad financial situation.
So if you're facing this decision, have the honest conversations now, out loud, with the people who it will land on. Who will show up when you're 80 and you need care? Plan for that vacuum before it happens, not after. So I'll leave you with the picture here that stays with me. It's not the courtroom, it's a kitchen table a year after the papers are signed, and someone doing the math they were never shown how to do. On the mortgage, the insurance premiums.
See, all of this is the math that should be done before the marriage, too.
Security statement that came up short because of a rule that they didn't even know existed. The tragedy in that room was never the decision to leave. Many people stand by that.
I believe India has a lot of feminists. It seems that way. It seems that way sometimes. I've seen some very vocal Indian feminists. Like, they seem like they can be very vocal sometimes.
The tragedy is that no one handed them a map first. and that the fine print stayed hidden until it was the only thing that they realized was on the table.
Okay, so, he's doing everything he can here to prop up the ladies. See what the comments say. Getting the home without enough income to keep that home is not the win you think it is. Great video, very helpful. Post-divorce poverty sucks, but freedom is priceless. Everything you cover is freedom. Gosh, because they're just in prison in the marriage. Okay. Everything you cover is hard numbers, but the caregiving piece. When divorcing from someone who doesn't care about you, there is no caregiver to lose. Okay. Whole lot of sad stories in this comment. My father thought the grass was always greener on the other side. After 39 years of marriage, he married someone 30 years younger. Guess what happened after he was married to her for 20 years and his dementia started showing up at age 81? She kicked him out of the very house he built with his own hands in his 70s. And he pulled his fifth wheel into my driveway, needing a place to park. My husband and I gave him a 1/4-acre lot to park on for the last 6.5 years of his life. He lived with his dog and told me his oldest daughter/caregiver, leaving your mother was the biggest regret of my life. The best part of it was as the Alzheimer's progressed, he didn't have any memories of the second wife. Too bad. Okay. I'm 51 and my divorce gave me 1,000% increase in peace and happiness. Oh, and I'm fine financially. Okay. So she's all right. There is no price for your freedom. Gosh, man. See, because marriage to these people is just like getting, some handcuffs slapped on you and getting thrown into a cell. I don't think you understand what is going on with the trend. What is going on with the trend is people that age have realized that their marriage will never get better. So they finally figured it out at age 63. Often they are in incredibly abusive marriages. Man, a whole lot of sad stories here. They would rather be financially devastated and have to rebuild than to live the rest of their life being chronically ill, dying of disease, or taking care of someone who is abusive. Abuse causes chronic illness. It is quite literally life or death for some of us. I'm a widow and I will never remarry. Why would I? It's just too risky. You don't know what you are really getting until the damage is done. Can anybody blame the young people for not getting married with this kind of stuff? This woman is divorced at 65 years and is doing just fine. Men bounce back quicker after their spouse dies as well. More widows never remarry. I don't know why you would want to continue to live in a house you shared with an ex anyway. Sell the house, take the money, and get a mortgage-free tiny home on a couple acres. Good job, doctor. Many lawyers do not advise their clients well. I graduated high school in 1972. Women weren't allowed to have credit cards in their own names until 1974. Okay. The only thing worse than getting divorced is being married. There's this guy, Marcus Vane. He wrote The Pullback Effect about no contact, push-pull, and power dynamics in relationships. And some of the stuff in there is legit dark. The way he explains how to make someone obsess over you is kind of scary. It honestly freaked me out. My mom divorced her second husband, my stepdad. She did better and remarried, but ended up divorced again. He drank himself to death. Okay, so we got three divorces here. Now my mother has 2 houses, is doing well financially, and has sworn off men. Okay, so she just ended up with a lot of assets there from that. This video proved to me that the best thing you can possibly do is work on your marriage. Stay married, work on your marriage, love unconditionally, and grow old with your spouse. Looks like it might be written from a guy. These stories are why younger women are now very aware that a man is not a plan. That's right. Let me tell you what your plan is, Dasha.
No dowry. It's my right.
That's your plan. This is such great information for someone who's going through the process. Thank you, Dr. Shah. Many, many good points here to consider. Thanks for doing the research and presenting it. Okay. Yeah, my very wealthy neighbor left his wife of 40 years and married a beautiful woman he met on the internet. Much younger than him. He was 66 and she was 32. He thought she loved him and was going to have a wonderful life. Well, she did put in her 6 years, but said she wanted a baby knowing he was fixed and couldn't. He had 2 married children already. She now has a new young handsome boyfriend. We all know that had always been her plan. She had 2 children with IVF, and now my neighbor pays for everything still. He supports all of them, and they do visit him and call him, but it's so strange. They're all he has now. His own family stopped speaking to him, and he doesn't know his grandchildren. Very sad. It's hard to feel sorry for him, though, because he should have known she didn't love him. That's a whole story. Going through divorce in my 50s was already brutal, but the menopause symptoms on top of it, I couldn't sleep, gained 25 pounds, and felt like a complete mess. I was so overwhelmed I could barely think straight. Then a friend handed me the Menopause Transition Playbook by Lisa Grant. It gave me something to focus on and my body started healing. Sleep returned, weight dropped off, okay? There wasn't a financial cliff when I got divorced. My ex-wife spent more money than what I was bringing home. Started my freedom with $10K and my ex got $10K plus alimony and child support. After divorce, I beefed up my 401K and other investments. 16 years later, I was able to retire at 59. I mean, so this is just a financially responsible guy in that comment. The problem is that these women on the other side aren't being financially responsible. So they end up in a crap position. So that's too bad. Gio Fichot says, my cuz has a 4-year-old at 60. Post-divorce, he dated a single mom that pressured him into marriage and now a kid. He planned for retirement at 60. Now he's paying for a whole new family. Well, you know, I'll tell you this. I've been thinking about this lately. And, you know, when I encounter guys in 2026 that put themselves in this position, it's very hard for me to feel sorry for them now. Like, I got to have a cutoff date. If something bad happened to you, like prior to August 15th of 2026, I'd be like, man, that sucks. But if it happened to you August 16th of 2026 onward and you made this horrible decision and you were in love, I don't know if I could feel sorry for you anymore. At a certain point, you know, it's like, why did you do this? You know, has enough of this not seeped out there? It's very hard to say. I mean, I do feel bad for people, you know, I get it. It's tough, but, you know, at a certain point, you know, the credit card thing is just lying. It's such lying by omission. She only swore off men once she got 2 houses. Exactly. It's my right. Yes, that's true. Take care, gentlemen. I have to do some chores. Please take care. It's great to catch you live. Take it easy, Elena. Thanks for coming in and saying hi. Okay, so I got Instagram brain rot, but I also got, you know what? Let's do a couple Instagrams, and then what we're going to do is we're going to read Dan the Man's story before we get to the second video. Okay? So guys, it looks like MGTOW is happening earlier for some people. Shout out to Luke Nielsen. Shout out to Timmy C. But I don't know. Some folks are going MGTOW kind of early. Let's see what this guy has to say. All right, and by guy, I mean young man. And by young man, I mean child, I guess. So let's see what mom captured here.
Ivan.
So you don't want to find a girlfriend?
I'm focusing on myself.
Wow. Okay. A lot of people need to do that for sure.
So he doesn't want to hear it, man. He basically said this.
You gotta stay gaming, bruh. Don't focus on no girl. Just stay gaming.
So shout out to this guy. See, he got the message. Why other men in 2026 can't get it figured out, I don't know. I don't understand, but yeah, exactly. The boy listened to Dontavius. You know what I mean? So, you know, after August 16th of 2026, if something happened to you and I got to hear the sad story, just saying it's going to be real tough for me. I will try my best to empathize and sympathize and be there for you, but still, man, you know, at a certain point. Smart kid, there's nothing but distractions. They'll take your money, expect half. Me after going 0/5 with the tortas. This generation of girls ain't it. Hopefully by the time he gets of age, the dating scene gets better. Maybe, you know, that's an optimistic view. That's what I said after I got rejected for the 4th time from the same girl. I was talking about some 3rd time's a charm. Imagine you're having a personal conversation with your mom. She tells you to repeat what you said. It just clips you on the internet. What I tell my mom is a 35-year-old man. Oh, gosh. Single moms. Yeah, okay. Single moms always pushing their kids to hop into dating. Teach them more important things other than romance, for goodness sakes. Yeah. Okay, so that's one. Let's see if we got another one here. All right. You guys remember Martha Stewart? This kind of goes into the Lindsay Clancy story. Okay. Michael, Dan the Man story is coming right after this one. All right, so you guys remember Martha Stewart, right? So there's Martha Stewart and the husband that says 100 billion women versus an ounce of accountability. So let's see what this says. All right, so we're going to hear Martha Stewart, everybody.
He was not satisfied at home. I don't know how many different girlfriends he had during this time, but I think there were quite a few. Young women, listen to my advice. If you're married and you think you're happily married and your husband starts to cheat on you, he's a piece of shit. And look at him as
Oh no, so she was getting cheated on by her husband. Let's listen. Let's listen some more.
a piece of shit and get out of it. Get out of that marriage. But I couldn't do that. Couldn't walk away.
Didn't you have an affair early on in the relationship?
Didn't you have an affair early on in the relationship? So wait a minute, she was the first one to cheat? Okay, but she's the victim.
Or when you were a
yeah, but I don't think Andy ever knew about that.
Yeah, but I don't think he ever knew about that though, so it didn't count. Oh my God. Oh God, I don't remember much about Martha Stewart. I mean, I kind of sort of remember the show growing up, and I remember she was in some kind of scandal, but I don't remember which one it was. Like, she was in some kind of like finance scandal. I don't think it was Enron. I can't even remember what it was. Martha Stewart, financial, crime. What company was it with? Insider trading. Martha Stewart's criminal case involves shares of Clone Systems, a biopharmaceutical company. On December 21st, she sold her stock based on a tip from her Merrill Lynch broker before the stock value dropped. She was convicted in 2004. Okay, that's what it was. It wasn't Enron. But yes, so anyways, yeah, so she's caught over here.
He did say he knew about it.
He did?
Yes, you would confess.
And then the interviewer's like, no, he said he knew about it. He said you confessed to him. This interviewer is hilarious.
To him.
Oh.
He says he didn't stray from the marriage until you.
He says he didn't stray from the marriage until you told him you had already strayed. And then he's like, all right, F this. And by the way, Martha Stewart's bringing in the money, right? So he was just like, I'll just do whatever. He wasn't tripping. And she had to put up with it. It's like a reverse situation.
Told him you had already strayed.
Oh, that's not true. I don't think.
Oh, that's not true. I don't think. Okay. Oh, so you're not sure? You can't remember?
But what happened? You had an affair.
I had a very brief affair with a very attractive Irish man.
I had a very brief affair. And it's just like, it was just, you know, it happened, but it was very brief. And he was so attractive. It wasn't my fault. I had to do it. You know what it's like when you see someone that just looks so good. You can't say no. We've all been there, right? Right?
And it was just nothing. He was not satisfied at all.
Oh my God. I got to watch this one more time.
I don't know how many different girlfriends he had during this time, but I think there were quite a few.
Man, she went in there with the plan to just get everybody to feel sorry for her. And then she's just over there telling women like, yeah, you know, just planting the seed in all these women's minds.
Young women.
Oh, he's the bad guy. Look at the bad guy over here, everybody. This is the villain.
And listen to my advice. If you're married and you think you're happily married and your husband starts to cheat on you, he's a piece of shit. And look at him.
She thought she had it, man. She was just like, ooh.
And it's a piece of shit and get out of it. Get out of that marriage. But I couldn't do that.
Well, yeah, she couldn't do that because she would have to been the one to pay out, right? This is Martha Stewart. I mean, she had that show. She was making big money. I think she sold a couple of books and all these kinds of things. Oh, but she couldn't do that. Couldn't walk away. I wonder why.
Couldn't walk away.
Didn't you have an affair early on in the relationship, or when you were a...
This interviewer's a legend.
Yeah, but I don't think Andy ever knew about that.
He did say he knew about it.
He did?
Yes, you would confess to him.
Oh.
He says he didn't stray from the marriage until you told him
This is crazy, guys. This is what the early 2000s were like.
Already strayed.
Oh, that's not true. I don't think.
But what happened? You had an affair.
I had a very brief affair with a very attractive Irish man. And
it's all good. I mean, he was Irish, so it doesn't count.
It was just nothing. He was not
Okay. All right, let's read the comments real quick. I love when they say it meant nothing. Like, damn, okay, so your husband meant less than nothing to you. Can't blame him at that point. Why didn't you say it was very brief affair and he was attractive in the first place? That changes everything. She literally malfunctioned when accountability and logic enter the conversation. She has told that lie so much she believed it until he checked her. Wow, 74,000 likes. Guys, chill. He was a very attractive Irishman. That wipes away accountability. 121,000 likes. That interviewer needs a cold beer ASAP after calling out her BS. Yeah, that interview, I mean, you know, what a legend. That guy did his research too. He had the follow-up ready. So it was very brief and he was attractive. You're right. Doesn't count. The interviewer deserves a raise and a drink. Certainly does. The issue is that this trait is common. That is the problem, the mass hysteria. Yes, well, see, that's where it kind of reminds me of this whole Lindsay Clancy thing. It's almost like a mass hysteria thing. Apparently, I gotta look at some more, but apparently it's been spinning around the web of people coming out to say, you know, she's not guilty or whatever.
He was not satisfied.
I blame my mother for being an upstanding human. Made me think women are worth a damn in this world. My piece is worth more. Oh my effing, just casually forgetting that. Who is the goat of an interviewer? I know. Fellas, they operate in a completely separate reality. Don't take them too seriously. This is why women were not allowed to talk in court at some point in time. Women, remember the good they did to you and the bad you did to her. Sometimes I'm happy that she spent her golden years in prison. She deserved all of it. She thought it was a layup, but it's in her own net. Yeah. Guys, he was Irish. There was nothing she could do. For women like that, their feelings are the only facts they need. That's not true, I don't think. Feminism caused us to end up where we are today. But it was a very brief affair. Okay, so, all right, so, okay. Guys, we're back. Let me just look at these real quick. Then we're going to get to Dan the Man's story. Yeah, she like, I didn't want to leave. Translation, I would lose more in the divorce. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. I mean, listen, it's really a power and a leverage thing here. You know what I mean? You could say male, female nature, but when you reverse these facts, then suddenly it's like, well, it's very hard to leave. I couldn't do that. You know what I mean? Like there are financial incentives and disincentives, if that's a word. Incentives to leave, incentives to stay. Young girls love gymnastics because it teaches them to twist themselves into knots to avoid accountability. That's a good. Thank you for that. I had a brief affair by the woman equate to the man saying he had an affair but didn't love her. Yeah, you could say that. Right, Dan. Men cheating on a wife's not the same as wife cheating on a man. It's simply not looked at the same. Never was historically. Very attractive Irish man means it wasn't my fault. An affair is an affair. How long it took, the betrayal. Oh my God. Okay. All right. All right, legends. Let's go ahead and get to Martha's husband found the richest woman he got. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. He was like, all right, you know what? Family court, I'm pretty much untouchable at this point. Well, guess what? I got cheated on. Now I guess this is just what we're doing. He just went and did what he was doing, you know. Okay. Dan the Man. All right, Dan the Man, sir. Let me just go ahead and do, we got all our pages in action. All right, folks. The Count of Monte Cristo is one of my favorite stories. I do love that story. I have a copy of it. Now, I will admit, the one I read was, I think there's a couple of abridged versions because that book is really long. And I did read it once, but it wasn't like the longest one. So anyways, Dan the Man, shout out to you, Dan the Man, for making this, man. I appreciate that. This is such a great use of these AI tools, and I love how you adapted the story and the symbolism and the metaphor. It really is good. So a lot of these ones that we've been reading, I've been liking. Shout out to the 28 people watching, the 23 likes that we got. If you haven't liked it yet, hit the like button. That helps me. Heck yeah, story time, absolutely. All right, here we go. A Gold Pill Tale, The Count of Monte Dowry, by Alexander Dumas. Adapted from a story by Alexander Dumas. An epic tale of revenge, redemption, and parody. All right, well, let's move in. I really love this cover, by the way. Look at that. Oh, whose hairstyle is that? That looks suspiciously like a alpha male course selling guru right here. This guy looks mighty TradCon-ish. Possibly what the first name Matt. Anyways, let's go ahead and move in here. Page 1, the sailor of Marseille. Marseille, I can't remember how to say Marseille. And the table. In the sunlit, page 1, the sailor of Marseille and the table. Wow, check out, we got the merchant ship Pharaon right here. Man, these pictures are great. In the sunlit port of Marseille, young Shah was on top of the world. At just 19 years old, his sharp mind and tireless work ethic had earned him the rank of ship captain aboard the merchant vessel Pharaon, along with a substantial captain's promotion payout. Shah was deeply in love, with his betrothed Mercedes. Driven by youthful, romantic idealism, Shah proudly declared to everyone in the port, "She doesn't need to bring anything to the table. She is the table." Oh, no. Oh, 19-year-old Shah here did not have his head screwed on right. Mercedes brought no dowry, no savings, and no financial assets to their union. But Shah believed that pure love alone was enough to sustain a lifetime. Oh, no. Okay. Wow. Beautiful artwork here. Page 2, framed by the bench. On the eve of his wedding, disaster struck. Shah was arrested by royal guards, framed for non-payment of child support for an ex-girlfriend, a woman he had never married. Oh, no. Not the ex-girlfriend getting me for child support. God forbid. God forbid. Shah provided definitive medical proof. Okay. Medical proof showing a 0% biological match. But his accusers, an envious TradCon man, a bitter red pillar, and a progressive feminist demanded his prosecution regardless of the truth. Okay, so we got paternity fraud going on. Yeah, man, this is bad. And, you know, very, very tragic. Presiding over the tribunal was Judge Romantic Ethos. Oh, no. Ignoring the biological evidence, the judge slammed her gavel down. "The state demands a provider," she declared. Shah was sentenced to 14 years in the bleak island prison of Chateau d'If. Oh my God, look at this. We got the red pillar salesman dude. We got the TradCon over here. We got the progressive feminists. Here come the gendarmes in the back, ready to haul me away. Oh my gosh, I was about to get married. Romantic Ethos set this right here. This is in line for romance, by the way. Terrible. Okay. Page 3, the Dungeon of Chateau d'If. Wow, look at that. Oh man, see, it's been some years. Oh no, this looks terrible. My back hurts just looking at this. Oh. For 14 agonizing years, Shah withered in the cold. Damp stone cell beneath the ocean waves. The darkness tested his sanity as he wondered how logic and justice could be so utterly inverted. Through a secret tunnel dug between cells, Shah met a fellow prisoner, Dr. Peter Wright. Shout out to Dr. Peter Wright. A brilliant elder scholar who had been imprisoned for questioning state overreach and the decay of social reciprocity. All right. There's Dr. Peter Wright right here, runs Gynocentrism, at Gynocentrism on Twitter. Man, I will say, yeah, that would be a blessing to be able to meet Dr. Peter Wright if I was in this situation. And, you know, I believe in the story that, you know, that character is Abbe Faria. Page 4, The Secret of the Gold Pill. As the years passed, Dr. Peter Wright educated Shah on the mechanics of legal corruption and the historical shift away from mutual contribution in marriage. The courts enforce a broken system, Shah, Peter explained. They trade on uncalculated romantic sentiment while expanding state power. See, this is Shah getting educated now. We got the Gynocentrism newspaper right here. Wow, take a look at that. That's fantastic. Excellent artwork. Peter then revealed a legendary secret. On the hidden island of Monte Dowry lay an ancient fortune. As fortune alongside the gold pill, a legendary relic of pragmatic ethos. Before succumbing to illness, Peter handed Shah a yellowed issue of Gynocentrism containing coded coordinates to the island. Wow. Wow, this is awesome. Doug, MPA, brother, I see your super chat. I promise I'm going to read it right after this. Page 5, the escape and pragmatic ethos. Okay, so here we go. Looks like we got Paul Elam in the fray. Man, this is making me want to grow my hair out again. That's looking fantastic right there. Looking fantastic. Oh my gosh. Okay. Executing a daring escape into the midnight, Shah was rescued by Paul Elam, a sharp, street-smart sea captain with an unyielding distaste for corrupt authority. Together, they sailed to the secret coordinates on the island of Monte Dowry, deep inside a hidden cave. Shah unearthed a vast fortune of gold jewels, and the glowing gold pills. So this is the real important thing about all that money. The money's also important too. Upon acquiring the gold pill, Shah gained pragmatic ethos. Looking back on his youth, he realized his love for Mercedes had been built on a flawed romantic delusion. He saw clearly that marriages without financial preparation, parity, and joint effort were doomed to ruin. And armed with wealth and wisdom, Shah became the Count of Monte Dowry. Man, this story is fantastic. Dan the Man, you're a legend for making this. Page 6, the fall of Judge Romantic Ethos. With Paul Elam gathering intelligence across Paris, the Count launched his campaign against Judge Romantic Ethos first. They investigated her private life and discovered she had a secret out-of-wedlock son whom she had quietly hidden away while publicly lecturing others on deadbeat parenting and moral duty. The Count provided the son with the resources to publish the birth records across Paris, exposing the judge's hypocrisy. Stripped of her bench and public trust, Judge Romantic Ethos fell into total disgrace. Wow. You can see the newspapers here. Hypocrisy revealed. Romantic Ethos falls in disgrace. There she goes. It's a real shame kind of moment right here. Judge's secret son exposed. Wow. Look at that. Page 7, Lady Dowry's revenge on the Tradcon. Next, the Count targeted the Tradcon. During his travels in the East, the Count had used his fortune to buy the freedom of a captive Greek princess named Lady Dowry, liberating her from bondage. Lady Dowry possessed damning proof regarding the Tradcon's past. Before the highest assembly of Parisian society, Lady Dowry stepped forward and exposed the Tradcon's ultimate treason. He had murdered her father, a noble leader named Western Civilization. So the Tradcon sold out the West. That's really who it was. So they could just, be giant simps, and sold Lady Dowry and her mother into bondage for political profit. Wow. Faced with undeniable evidence of murder and treason, the Tradcon was utterly ruined and dragged away in chains. Page 8, the Red Pillar's empty room. Hey, look, it's our buddy, Michael. Page 8, the Red Pillar's empty room. The Count turned his sights on the Red Pillar. Using a shell company managed by Paul Elam, the Count advertised an exclusive, highly expensive billionaires buyers summit where course creators could sell their programs to wealthy tycoons. Man, that's like a red pill guru's wet dream, is to be in a room full of rich guys that they can just sell really expensive courses to. Eager to make a fortune, the Red Pillar spent his entire savings on travel, marketing, and the exorbitant entrance fee. But when he walked onto the stage, he discovered the auditorium held no wealthy buyers, only 500 other broke course sellers trying to pitch each other. Bankrupt and embarrassed, his empire collapsed overnight. That's hilarious. Just put a bunch of gurus in the room, and then they all got to pitch their course to each other. It'd be like a pickup artist Hunger Games, or a pickup artist Battle Royale or something like that. Page 9, the progressive feminist ruin. Finally, the Count approached the progressive feminists who had initiated the false accusations years ago. Pretending to be a wealthy patron, the Count subtly manipulated her vanity, convincing her that she deserved total control over her household assets. Persuaded by his flattery, she filed for a hostile, scorched earth divorce against her husband. But as the bitter legal battles dragged on, ruthless attorney fees drained both their accounts, liquidating their entire shared estate until both parties were left penniless. Man, that happens every day in family law court. Page 10, cold ashes of vengeance. Man, check this out. He ain't the same Shah anymore. He's the Count now. Standing in his grand Parisian study, the Count looked over the dossiers of his ruined enemies, yet he felt no joy or warmth. 14 years in Chateau d'If and a decade spent orchestrating retribution had left his heart cold, hardened, and guarded. Looking at his reflection, the Count believed he was far too old, damaged, and consumed by past hatred to ever love or marry again. Oh, gosh. Okay, page 11, the fierce devotion of Lady Dowry. Okay, I like this. We got land deeds. Luke Nielsen was talking about tracts of lands earlier. Okay. Lady Dowry entered the study, holding the glowing gold pill. She refused to let the man who saved her remain consumed by the shadows of the past. She laid out her ancestral royal portfolio before him, a vast Greek dowry of prime lands, merchant fleets, and sovereign assets. That's what I'm talking about.
No dowry. It's my right.
I do not seek a romantic fantasy. Fantastic, Lady Dowry declared with fierce devotion. I offer a true union of parity, strength, and reciprocal value. I offer a dowry with huge tracts of land. Shout out to Luke Nielsen. Her unyielding devotion and her substantial dowry, combined with the pragmatic wisdom of the gold pill, pierced the darkness in Shah's heart. He realized that while emotional vengeance brought no peace, a logical reciprocal partnership offered a true future. Oh, that's beautiful. Look at those beautiful deeds and other assets. A bitter farewell in Marseille. Before entering his new life, Shah returned briefly to Marseille, where his journey had begun. There he encountered Mercedes. So that used to be, the one he was in love with way back when he was 19. Seeing her through the lens of pragmatic ethos, Shah harbored no bitterness, but recognized that their old attraction had been an uncalculated, youthful illusion. Mercedes had brought nothing to the table then, and their paths had diverged completely. As a gesture of closure, Shah handed her the exact promotion money he had earned upon being named captain of the Pharaon 14 years prior. A nod to the life they might have shared, ensuring she could live independently. She formally closed the door on his past forever. Shah formally closed the door on his past forever. So there's the Count of Dowry. Wow. There's the Count of Monte Cristo, the movie that came out with dang it, I can't remember, Jim Caviezel, right? And then there's the actual book. And the thing is, in the Hollywood version, at the end, the Count ends up getting back with Mercedes, and they get to live for the rest of their lives together. But that's not how the book went. Basically, once the Count destroyed all their lives and took vengeance on them, because Mercedes was now married to Count Mondego. And she had become rich then, And basically he ruined them, so she was put back into poverty. And basically because of what she, did or whatever, he basically took mercy on her, but instead of he was a different guy. He wasn't the same guy. So he wasn't in love with this. So he didn't love her anymore because he was a new person after all this stuff. And when he had gotten promoted, he got a small stipend to become the captain, and he was going to use that for the marriage, basically. So she's living in squalor now, and he basically goes over there, and he's just pretty much there's no chance they're ever going to get together. And what he does is he says, here's the amount of money, basically, that, I got for that, which is comparatively still a very small amount, and said, you can do your best with this, basically. And then he just dips out on her, which is the not gynocentric thing to do. But Hollywood had to make it gynocentric and be like, they were still in love the whole time and he wasn't over her and now they got married. And I'm like, nah, man, that's not cool. So anyways, yeah, some background there. Page 13, A Realm of Pragmatic Parity. Count Shah and Lady Dowry were united in a magnificent wedding built on mutual respect, fierce devotion, and pragmatic parity. Lady Dowry's immense Greek dowry expanded their holdings into an empire of unprecedented stability. With Captain Paul Elam leading their defensive forces, yeah, we got Paul. Shah and Lady Dowry established a sovereign sanctuary, a land where predatory courts, false allegations, and unreciprocated marriages were outlawed forever. Fantastic. Guided by logic, reciprocity, and the enduring power of the gold pill, they ruled logically, wealthily, and harmoniously ever after. Fantastic. Fantastic. Dan the man, you've done it again. We got a lot of stories here. We got a lot of stories. Yo, Raymond Sycamore. Oh my God. Did you even read the book? I did, but it wasn't a bridge version. Shout out to you, Raymond. It's good to see you, brother. Real quick, I got to go back up to Doug MPA's super chat here. Not sure if he's still here. Doug, I hope you're still out there. Shah, my bro, hope you've been well. Have you talked about the Lindsay Clancy case yet? At this point, men have to ask themselves, would you rather leave your newborn child with a woman or a bear? That's a pretty good one. I've talked about it a little bit earlier in this stream, but I haven't done like a dedicated video. I do want to make one, maybe just a 10-minute talking about it, because I haven't looked that closely at it, but I keep seeing bits and pieces. And from what I'm seeing, it ain't looking good. There's a lot of ladies making excuses for what this woman did that was heinous, you know? So, I mean, that part's kind of unconscionable. It's almost hard to imagine, to be honest. But so far, all I hear is a whole lot of excuses to, you know, deflect accountability away, which I don't like. But thank you for that generous $10. Going to add that to the dowry chest. I hope you're doing well also. Doug, I haven't really seen Pearl streaming as often. I think she's focused more on making other content. But I kind of miss when Doug MPA would call in to Pearl's show and they start talking about stuff. I hope we get another one of those soon. Shout out to you, Doug. I hope you're doing well. Thank you again for that super chat. Super cool story. Very much so. Yes, absolutely. The Count of Montedowry. I think Shah should read us a story for bed every night. Wouldn't that be so fun? I would love to do that. I don't know how, if we can get a Jack and the Beanstalk adaptation of the Gold Pill, I don't even know how that would work. But basically, like, you know what, you can make it where Jack goes up the beanstalk. See, now, there's two ways that we can do this. Either Jack goes up the beanstalk and he recovers the gold pill, or he gets a gold pill and he thinks it's a bean, basically, and he throws it out of the window, however that happens. And the gold pill is what grows into a vine that takes us from this land that's been impoverished by the romantic ethos, and it brings us up into the sky where, you know, Jack and the Beanstalk does his thing, and then he discovers the sort of dowry ethos up there. And I don't know what the giant or the villain is, but we got to figure out what the villain is. So that's possible. So we could have more stories going. I'm loving this. We got a lot of stories. Did I read Robin Hood to you guys yet? I can't remember, but we got a good amount of stories here. We got Raiders of the Lost Dowry, A Christmas Dowry Carol, Lady Dowry and the Beast. That one was pretty good. We got Shah's Dowry. We got the Count of Monte Dowry. So yeah, I mean, yeah. So, you know, there's that one that we can add to that. Gosh, maybe we can even get a Peter Pan kind of thing going too. That'd be, you know, interesting. Dan, write a story of Shrek and the Gold Pill and other stories. Jack and Jill climbing the hill for the Gold Pill. Yeah, see, there's a ton of them. I think you have the wrong page 9. I posted the corrected version on the original post. Oh man, I might. Well, I'll have to go back and look at that. Sorry about that. Oh, Peter Wright was listening. Awesome, Dan. It very much was. Very much was. Thanks, Peter. Absolutely. Steampunk glasses. Yeah, these are the Leon the Professional. These are replicas of the Leon the Professional glasses. Remember that Spider movie from the 90s with Will Smith? Man, I mean, I remember Arachnophobia, but that might have been the 80s. I don't remember the Spider movie. I probably saw it. I just can't remember the name of it. With Will Smith. You know, I gotta look that up right now. That's gonna Spider movie with Will Smith and William Shatner. Wild Wild West. Interesting. I'll have to check that movie out. Bunch of spiders. Okay, so we got that. Shah and Dan the Man. What a lovely, heartwarming story of the Count of Monte Dowry. Brute Man, I'm so glad you enjoyed it. That was a fun one. That was a fun one. You did a great job on that, Dan. That's too good. That's too good. Really. This is weird. Yo, Raymond. Hope you're doing well. I was just thinking about you today, Raymond. I'm like, man, I gotta hit up the Kick stream. You've been the wise sage in the stories that I've been making. I hope you liked it. Yeah, Peter Wright and Paul Elab have been featured in other ones. Awesome story. Well done. Very much so. I'm still here. Doug MPA. Yeah, Doug, man, I miss you on the Pearl streams, but I'm sure you'll be on there soon enough. Thank you again for that super chat. And the question that you asked is very important. Would you want to leave the children with her or a bear? You know, I want to believe the stories of like a wolf. You know, like when you think of like the founders of Rome and Remus and Romulus, and they were nursed by a wolf pretty much because the wolf came across the babies. And who knows? Maybe a bear would nurse a baby as well, and the baby would be safer that way. You know, I got to look more into the whole Lindsay Clancy thing. I haven't gone too deep into it. Let's just see what we got on the news here. Okay, the former maternity nurse is charged with killing her 3 young children. All right, let's see what the Boston Globe has to say. Oh man, oh man, oh no. Oh no. Okay, well that's not being nice. All right, New York Post. Defense rests. Okay. Let's just see what the story is, okay? Nobody disputes that Lindsay Clancy eliminated her 3 young children, but 3 years later, her defense attorneys have put another defendant on trial, the mental health professionals and system. It was the system's fault. Okay, it was the system's fault. Yo, Base FCZ, I'm surprised Zerth hasn't had a cameo in these stories yet. Okay, we got to get Zerth a cameo. We'll find a way. We'll find a way. Now I'm trying to think of the perfect story to incorporate you in. A blessing to have you here, Base, as always. Gosh, I can envision right now a Base video about this whole story. Which no pressure, but I'm just saying, if I saw that pop across my YouTube feed, I would be very excited. Okay. Real quick, let's just get into this a bit more. So it's the system's fault. It was the mental health. She was a nurse. Clancy and her former husband, Patrick, have filed civil lawsuits against several medical professionals. So the husband's on it too, huh? Involved in her treatment, alleging negligence and wrongful death, okay? As the 36-year-old Massachusetts-born mom faces murder charges, her lawyers argue that her worsening mental condition and repeated pleas for help went unanswered, and that too many psychiatric drugs were prescribed by multiple providers with little oversight. But is there a case for her doctors and care team to answer? The Post spoke with mental health and legal experts across the country who identified potential gaps in Clancy's treatment, including fragmented care, the lack of coordination in her treatment, reliance on telehealth, and limited perinatal psychiatric expertise. Experts say her case highlights broader weaknesses in how the U.S. mental health system treats women. With psychiatric symptoms during and after pregnancy. With the defense potentially resting on Monday, Clancy's lawyer, Kevin Reddington, argued Thursday that the case had exposed a message reverberating across the country. So what's supposed to happen here? So she's supposed to get off scot-free, and then there's going to be just a bunch of legal change about, how mental health is treatment is done in this country. Gosh, leave it to a woman doing something to enact some kind of change in the pharmaceutical industry, huh? You know, but okay. Everyone's fault but hers. Always a pleasure to be here. Thank you. It's always a pleasure seeing you. Base, we appreciate you. Lindsay Clancy has evil Harry Potter teacher physiognomy. I mean, you know, I'm a little suspicious that there probably could have been some adjustments made to this, but I'm, you know, I can't say. I don't know. You know, like at a certain point, it's like people make decisions. You know what I mean? It was the doctors, and she was taking too many drugs, and she was prescribed too many of them, and there was little oversight. You know, the Post spoke with mental health and legal experts across the country who identified potential gaps in Clancy's treatment, including fragmented care, the lack of coordination in her treatment, reliance on telehealth, and limited perinatal psychiatric expertise. Experts say her case highlights broader weaknesses in the U.S. mental health system. Okay, yeah, we got that. With the defense potentially resting on Monday, Clancy's lawyer, Kevin Reddington, argued Thursday that the case had exposed a message reverberating across the country. I think that it's the mental, and by across the country, they just mean other women, but okay. I think that it's the mental health system. I hate to use the word healthcare because unfortunately, in this case, we can see it hasn't been healthcare. You know, I don't buy that. I don't buy that. She's a nurse, so she works in the medical industry. And it's like she knows. You know what I mean? So I would have believed herself to be able to make better judgment as pertains to her care. But there, you know, I'm not, I don't know. I got to see more. Dr. Daniel Bober, a psychiatrist. This picture's hilarious. And these were all the prescriptions. Look at all these prescriptions, and they're upside down, so you can't even read them. Dr. Daniel Bober, a psychiatrist and assistant clinical professor at the Yale Child Study Center, agreed the case has put America's treatment of maternal mental illness under a microscope. My God, a woman ends her 3 children's lives, and like we're just so gynocentric as a country that what happens is like suddenly it's like, oh my God, we have to look at this, and she's a victim of a horrible system. They're seeing dollar signs to go after pharma and big med. That's the truth, Luke. They just know there's a big purse there, and they're trying to get some of it. Good point. Zerus is base FCZ, Dan. Particularly for new moms, we need to do a better job in this country with maternal mental health care, he said. Postpartum depression affects roughly 1 in 7 new mothers. Man, listen, here's the thing. Depression is just not a reason enough to get away with something like this. If you're depressed, that is your onus, that's your burden to lift and carry and deal with, you know? There needs to be some type of years in prison here, but we'll see. But postpartum psychosis is far rarer and more acute. Okay, so postpartum psychosis. It's a psychiatric emergency, Dr. Megan Markham, chief psychologist at AM/FM Healthcare in California, told the Post. Symptoms include confusion, hallucinations, delusions, and difficulty distinguishing reality, severe sleep disturbance, and a history of bipolar disorder increased risk. Yet identifying psychosis isn't as simple as asking whether a mother has thought about harming herself or her child. Greenstein said frightening, intrusive thoughts can occur without psychosis. The distinction is whether a woman recognizes the thought as unwanted and horrifying, or whether her reality has become so distorted that the thought seems normal, requiring clinicians to probe well beyond a checklist. However, experts stress that part of the challenge is diagnosing the fear mothers have that if they disclose intrusive thoughts, they will lose their child. Clancy had no shortage of doctors. If anything, experts say she had the opposite problem. Too many providers treating. So, yeah, it looks like plenty of look at all these doctors listed here. There's all the prescriptions. Okay. Okay. Lack of trained professionals. Experts also question whether the clinicians treating Clancy had enough specialized training in prenatal psychiatric illness. Here's the psychiatrist, Dr. Jennifer Tuff, sits on the witness stand during the Clancy trial. Bellenbaum said prenatal mental health training is not routinely required for psychologists, counselors, social workers. Man, they're pulling out all of the stops. Look at the protesters. Stand in peace, Lindsay. Amy Brault of Acushnet, Massachusetts, attends a vigil in support of Lindsay Clancy. Wow, we got all the pink shirts out here. That's insane. Clancy's case may be rare, but the broken system it exposes is not. Man, this is crazy. Man, they got all the experts and the kind of on her side. I mean, she may very well get away with this. We know for a fact that her husband drove about 10 minutes down the road, went in CVS, and then called her. He said she sounded hurried on the phone, but confirmed with him lucidly that the medication he was asking about was correct. 4 minutes later, Apple Health on her phone recorded her ascending to her room when she jumped from the window. We also know it took roughly 3 minutes for each child to be killed and that all 3 children couldn't have been killed after the call, meaning 2 of them at least were likely already dead when he called her. So where is the psychosis in trying to appear normal on the phone to your husband so as not to alarm him before you can finish your spree? Her having a history of depression does not free her of responsibility. Guilty, she shouldn't be walking this earth. I mean, listen, if a man did anything like this, you know, like let's say there was a mass deleting event of some kind and like, well, I was depressed and I was taking medicine and the medicine made me do it, nobody would care. They'd be like, that's too bad. You know, you should have did this, you should have did that. That's not an excuse. You can't make a series of bad decisions in your life, and then when the dam finally breaks, we're all supposed to feel sorry for you. Like that, I don't know. This man's pointing out some interesting things. Actually, the experts don't agree. Only her defense experts said this, okay? Of course she's guilty. Oh, dang it, I can't see. The only question is what to do with her. My gosh. Definitely making a case to... Gio for Show, hey, thanks for that super chat. Gio for Show says, Lindsay is why surrogacy plus single fatherhood is the safest alternative for fathers and his kids. Modern women are too unstable, even the religious ones. Well, what's crazy about this whole thing is apparently conservative women are coming out to defend this. Gosh, this is just, this is too much. This is too much. Yeah, this is one heck of a story right here. Let me just see what CNN's got to say about, man, we don't need this giant advertisement, CNN. Clancy, okay, what about the cell phone? That's what I want to see. Okay. Medication stole my motherhood and life. Okay. So she doesn't deny that she did what she did to her children. She says it was psychosis. So the notes were presented in court Thursday during the testimony of a cell phone forensic analyst who testified he extracted the writings from Clancy's phone. So she was in the throes of psychosis and there's phone. Another note found on Clancy's phone, last modified in early November, detailed how she felt sad and depressed, that she wasn't able to parent her youngest child, Callum, the same way she raised her first. I feel not as corrected with Cal now. You know what's crazy? I was just watching a true crime episode of a man who pretty much took out his entire family. And I think he did it because they were going broke or something. And he was like, well, I didn't want them to be out on the street. Like he had some type of thing going on. But you know what? Nobody cared. They just went in and arrested him and they're putting him through the system. Like there isn't this outcry. I'm kind of seeing the story as like the same thing. You know what I mean? So it's like, there's... You know, I'm interested now to see what's gonna what the sentence is gonna be. Clancy, who has pleaded not guilty, could face life in prison if convicted. If jurors find she cannot be held criminally responsible, the court will likely begin the process of committing her to a psychiatric hospital. I don't know. I don't know. I'm having a lot of trouble finding the violin right now on this. So did her attorney tell her just stare and look crazy? Good question. There's no religious women today. All of them are the same. There are 2 stories where one dad eliminated his kid because of PTSD, and the other one was actually insanity. But men don't protect those men. Yeah, that's not gonna get this treatment right here. Go read the GoFundMe, Shah. Oh, great. There's a GoFundMe. It is truly women protecting women regardless of evil. Dan, it just shows. Yeah, it's just a big feel sorry for me fest. You know what I mean? Let me see if I can find that. Lindsay Clancy GoFundMe. I wonder if this is the right one. I mean, there's probably more than one. Let's see. Okay. Oh my gosh. Yes, the ad blocker is on. Let's turn that off. Let's refresh the page. All right. Oh my gosh. Man, yeah. Oh, well, it's all paywalls now. Oh, well, I mean, this looks like it's it. We got 1,027,000. Oh my gosh. Look at the AI picture. Oh my gosh. Look at the picture. There she is. And she's in a wheelchair somehow. I guess she can't, you know, and all these women forming like some kind of a shield ring around her. Oh my gosh. Listen, I gotta tell you, I'm not buying the whole, you know, the world has treated us so badly thing. Like that doesn't even register or compute here. You know what I mean? No. Okay, let's see this. Let's see this. Oh my. Oh my. The Musgrove Family Fund in January. Yeah. She is now on trial more than 3 years. Paula, Mike is a photo guy. Case will eventually, Mike and Paula still have to pick up the pieces of their lives. All right, well, let's see what else we got. All right, there's that. My gosh, guys, that's crazy. What a wild story. Oh my gosh. Even Planned Parenthood. Well, I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised about that one. Let me see here. Planned Parenthood, Lindsay Clancy. Man. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, it says there's no publicly known connection. I don't know. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. I'm literally disgusted. It's from Luke Nielsen. As a veteran with real PTSD, no craps were given for guys like me that struggled, and PTSD episodes are not excused. And then this vomit. Exactly. That's the whole thing here. I don't buy this. This really does represent a kind of like, I don't even know. I mean, I guess you could say a mass sort of gynocentrism hysteria, a kind of mass delusion that our entire society lives under. It's like society will do anything to excuse the most heinous stuff, you know, for a woman. It's crazy. It's really like upside down. This is really weird. I've never seen men as a group quite this appalled before. Men really cannot believe this particular female BS. Yeah, this one is, that's something. Oh gosh. Well, they got the $1 million on the GoFundMe, so there's that. Gosh. Lindsay Clancy, let's see what the BBC's got to say. See, now I'm down the rabbit hole on this. Oh my gosh. Yeah. She was begging for help. Clancy's former mother-in-law, Susan Clancy, said of a woman she described as a very nurturing, very loving mother. Let me tell you something. If a guy begged for help, CPS would have came and took those kids so fast. They would have came and took those kids so fast. If a dad, you know, was there and was exhibiting any of this, the government would have came in and took the kids fast, which is what they should have did with her, but they didn't do it for some reason, you know. Prosecutors have said that in January 2023, Clancy intentionally strangled the 3 children with fitness bands in their Massachusetts home before jumping out of a second-floor window. Clancy, now 36, was paralyzed by the jump and has attended the trial in a wheelchair. Okay, that explains the wheelchair. The defense have said Clancy experienced hallucinations and delusions after giving birth to Callan, and she was undergoing medical treatment for psychiatric problems. She checked herself into a psychiatric hospital for a few days. just before the deaths. The UK's National Health Service defines postpartum psychosis as a rare, serious mental health illness that can affect someone soon after having a baby. Yeah, I don't know about that. That ain't... let's see what the lawyer's got to say here.
He's got some medical issues, so it's
Okay, so Lindsay Clancy's lawyer, Kevin Reddington, when asked if children are being forgotten in all this.
and he's got some medical issues, so it's going to be by Zoom, and then they'll have their 3 doctors, and hopefully we get that done during the day. Close Monday.
And what do you expect from the prosecutors? 3 witnesses that will be testifying tomorrow. What do you think they're going to be hammering home at?
You go upstairs to the 3rd floor and ask the prosecutors.
Why were the jurors sworn in at the beginning of the day?
Just because the judge wanted to make sure that all the support and the people didn't affect anybody's opinion, and they're all, solid. They all are very fair and working hard.
Mr. Reddington, one last question. There's been a lot of people online and whatnot that are saying that maybe the children are being forgotten in all of this. What's your response?
Thank you. Have
to
a
that?
good weekend.
He just immediately dips out. He's like, I ain't touching that. Oh no. Somebody please. I mean, and I get it. It is about the children, but like he was just like having all the other questions. It was all casual.
In all of this. What's your response?
Thank you. Have
to
a good
that?
weekend.
He's like, nope. I can't do nothing to risk losing this case.
All right.
I got some pictures of you guys.
Wow. She can be both the victim and a perpetrator. Why is it so hard for some people to understand that 2 things can be true? As long as the perpetrator side is getting what's due to it, poor kids, they didn't even get a chance in life. It goes without saying to all normal people that those poor children had their lives stolen in the most tragic way. They are absolutely being forgotten, most of the discourse I'm seeing. I don't care if this sounds callous, the trial isn't about them. Whether they're being forgotten is of zero concern. I'm glad he refused to give them a single word. This person's like, is the trial not for their murder? Oh my gosh. Good on him. What a ridiculously manipulative and meaningless question. Oh man, this is crazy. This is like a true, schism. Like they're really on opposite sides of this. That is something. That is something to see. I have a screenshot of Planned Parenthood's tweet in the Discord server. Okay, right on. Let me see if I can spot that. Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, if this is their Discord server, that could be true. It could just be like a separate group associated. So that's Planned Parenthood Action. So that doesn't look like the official Planned Parenthood. That's what kind of how it looks like to me right now. The screen cap is circulating of a guy dumping his girl for sympathizing with Lindsay. I don't know if it's real or not, but dudes are ready to draw the line. I mean, it's about time. Honestly, there's no excuse for this. There's simply no excuse for this at all. I can't even. You can't excuse this. It doesn't matter what the mental health was. That's not an excuse. Just isn't an excuse, She's 36. So no way. I'm not buying that. Dan the Man did a good video on this here.
It's the other way around. It's a problem. It's like, oh yeah, she drank but they had sex. Oh, it's no matter what. So it's like, that's so stupid, man. Postpartum.
Women rally in support of Lindsay Clancy. Nobody takes us seriously. My gosh. Yeah, I mean, this is just, this is inexcusable. Oh, maybe you're right. Same Lindsay is womanese. For giving me equal rights was a mistake. Yeah, this is just ridiculous. I gotta look at some more Instagram brain rot so we can move past this. Let's just see what else we got over here. All right, let's check out this guy. This guy looks like he could possibly be Are the TradCons finally coming around? Let's see what's going on.
If you really like a girl and she has a kid, what are you gonna do?
You find a way not to like her anymore.
You try to find a way not to like her.
You're done! Go out! You're out of here! Go! Go far away.
That was
If you
good.
really like a girl and she has a kid, what are you gonna do?
You try.
Hey, I love that his dad's right here next to him. I feel like his dad's probably proud of him.
Find a way not to like her anymore.
You're done. Go out. You're out of here. Go far away.
That's so funny. As a woman, this is how I feel about men with kids. Not everyone wants to be a third wheel to your past life. Shout out to her. That's true. That's a Carfax. Sorry. When I think about having problems in my own life, I think about other men raising other women's children. He's 1,000,000% correct. Just walk away. They are single moms for a reason. They're clearly single moms. That's my boy. Sorry to tell you single moms out there, but your kid is a liability to men that don't have kids. Recreational use only. Dad was proud. Yep, dad was proud. No man wants to play another man's safe game. A man's duty is to make a family, not to join a family. This is facts. A man isn't allowed to have preferences. There you go. Why are they upset? Exactly. They disliked him for having an opinion, by the way. Could you read the Robin Hood one? Yeah, haven't read that one yet. Okay, maybe I'll... Oh, dang it. I just lost my my YouTube chat here. There we go. Maybe we'll have some time for that later. I might save it for next week, though. I might save that one for next week. Dad got a huge kick out of his son's answer. Yup. I mean, yeah, shout out to Dad there. Okay, there we go. Oh, here's the good comment. Dude is in his 20s and clearly looks like he takes care of himself. Why in the hell would he play stepdad when he could create his own family? It's not that bad if he's in his 35s to 40s, because at that point, everyone's had a kid. Yeah, that's the only thing that makes sense to me. It's like, listen, you had a kid from a prior relationship. She has one. There's something there. Fine. But why? Yeah, that doesn't make sense. But why choose to put yourself in that situation young? Why are you shaming him for his answer? That's 100% how he feels. There you go. All right, shout out to that guy. All right, guys, you guys remember Spider-Man, the movies that they made in like the early 2000s? Listen, I'm going to say maybe the villain was actually the good guy, okay? And I have something to show for that. So let's go and see. You guys remember this guy? All right. Dude was genuinely disappointed in his son's taste in women. Let's check this out. I got to stop it because the music.
Girl is important to me. Henry, please, look at her. You think a woman like that sniffing around because she likes your personality?
Oh, man. See, Dad knew what was up. And see, back then when you were watching this in the theaters as a kid, they're making you feel sorry for her. Hollywood's like, this guy's wrong. He just likes money.
Your mother was beautiful, too. They're all beautiful. Until they're snarling after your trust fund like...
Your mother was beautiful, too. They're all beautiful until they're snarling after your trust fund.
Pack of ravening wolves. You're wrong about her, Dad. A word to the not-so-wise about your little girlfriend. Do what you need to with her, then groom her fast.
A shout out to him. Yeah, he's keeping it real. He basically said this. Oh, he said this.
There was a dowry or a bride price.
That's what he's trying to say.
Your dowry. It's my right.
Right, and the son just doesn't understand that. So he's just sitting there and giving him some good fatherly advice right here. This is the important stuff fathers are supposed to be telling their sons. Let's hear it one more time.
Girl is important to me. Henry, please, look at her. You think a woman like that sniffing around because she...
I think Govin might have sent this to me, by the way. Govin, if you're in here, I think you sent this to me. I can't remember exactly, but it's hilarious, and thank you. Thank you if that was you who sent it to me.
She likes your personality? Your mother was beautiful, too. They're all beautiful. Until they're snarling after your trust fund like a pack of ravening wolves. You're wrong about her, Dad. A word to the not-so-wise about your little girlfriend. Do what you need to with her, then groom her fast.
Shout out to him, man. Shout out to him. To you folks out there that are blessed enough to become fathers, yeah, keep that in mind right there. Keep that in mind. You might have to pull that out of your back pocket someday. Let's see here. MJ in that whole series was evil. I don't exactly remember too much about like her role. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Let's see what the comments say. Papa was saying no dowry, no ring. Exactly. No dowry, no marriage. Women at any age are looking to marry a Chad. Okay. Norman was able to see in 3 seconds than what Peter couldn't see in 3 movies. See, I don't actually know how the 3 movies end, so it could be that maybe she like disappointed him. I mean, over here, we all know that's inevitable with this kind of setup. I mean, this is a disaster waiting to happen. She cheated in all 3. Oh, well, there you go. She cheated in all 3 movies, by the way. She left her fiance on their wedding day to be with Peter. But only after she found out Peter was Spider-Man. Oh, there you go. Wow. The Goblin has a good sense of character, knows that MJ isn't really committed to Harry because she loves Spider-Man. And therefore, he says it's about the money to shake up Harry. Weird, but little details matter to fans. Bro was not lying, messing with Harry and Peter at the same time, and she left her astronaut to be with Toby. Let's not forget now. Green Goblin sense, he is correct, and she cheated in all 3 movies. Well, okay. Harry's mom was also a redhead and wore a black dress. It's in their house family portrait. He's actually checking her out. That's why he says, you think a woman like that is interested in you for your personality? He said his son wasn't man enough to get a beautiful girl like MJ, so he told him she's only dating him for his money, which is Goblin's money. I mean, it was Goblin talking, but was he wrong, though? Broom her fast is crazy. My boy knew a homie hopper when he seen one. Realizing MJ is selfish, he's looking out for his son and Peter. Yes, yes. This is why the Toby movies are better. It's called better writing. Okay, okay. The last sentence was straight from Goblin, bro. All right. Let's see. Guys, we got... Dan, I'm going to save the Robin Hood one for next week. I'm thinking maybe we can... You know, we'll save it for next week. Dang it. Let's just listen to this one 8 minutes, and then we'll close out the show, fellas.
For the past few decades, divorce rates in America...
If I get like halfway in this and it's just more gynocentrism, I might have to call it. But basically, the point is that the gray divorces are increasing. And so even for these long marriages, it's looking kind of shaky.
...have been falling. But when you break it down by age, you notice something strange. For most age groups, divorces
12
keep
days ago.
ticking downward. But for people over the age of 65, they're skyrocketing. Since 1990, the divorce rate for elderly Americans has roughly tripled. Today, 1 in 10 new divorces are between senior citizens. And if you look at anyone over 50, they now make up 40% of all divorces. So what's actually going on here? And how does our society change when a generation of older people suddenly starts living alone?
Marriage is no longer till death.
Man, that's only going to make things more expensive. That's only going to mean each of them needs a house, you know. I get like number 30, and in real life, Dad was wise. Yes, he was. I'll take my luck with the ravenous wolves. Shout out to Orem. Parents can suddenly pull a red pill out of nowhere when they catch their son simping. Great show, 2 hours strong. Thank you, Gio. I appreciate that. Wow, 1 in 10.
Death do us part. Marriages today may not be that much more unhappy than they were a generation or two ago, but rather our expectations have shifted, and women and men alike are not willing to remain in these empty shell marriages.
Man, I mean, again, this is just not helping the case for marriage right here.
Anymore.
Okay, so the obvious question is why? What's going on? I realize that the studies are not giving us a conclusive answer on this, but you must...
Tradcons are reaching real deep into the Tradcon bag of tricks right now to try to fix this.
In all of your work that
try
you've
to
done...
not fix it, to explain this away.
You are the expert on grey divorce. What are people saying to you? What are you speculating?
I think there are a number of factors that are at play here. I mean, first, we'd want to think about the changing norms surrounding marriage and divorce. We've got a high bar for what constitutes marital success. People don't want to remain in empty shell marriages, those marriages in which they're not particularly happy, but they feel they can't leave. And instead, particularly as we've seen rising levels of female labor force participation, lengthening life expectancies, if you reach age 65, you can expect to live another 20 years. And that's a long time to spend with someone if you're not feeling committed to them anymore. And what we're finding is a lot of older adults, it's not a precipitating event. Rather, they'll tell you that they've grown apart from their spouse.
Any divorce
Okay, so the love is gone.
is sad, and an uptick in divorce amongst older people does seem to be on the face of it sad, and we can dig into the problems surrounding it later in the
What it means for women. Okay.
outcomes. But is there, in some ways, a good news story for this, particularly in what it tells us about women and their own financial independence? I mean, this is not an option that has been available to women, or particularly to older women, decades and centuries ago, but now is.
That's right. I mean, baby boomers are the first generation for whom the vast majority of wives were in the labor force, and therefore they've got the economic independence to leave an unhappy marriage.
So
I don't know. I'm going to want more proof on what the financial breakdown of that looks like on these divorces. That sentence she said is doing a whole lot of heavy lifting. Would women keep or lose their dowry if they divorce in the old age, Shah? From what I see, I mean, it depends on what the fault is. In some countries like Italy, if there's adultery or something like that, they would lose it. Where divorce was allowed, typically she would keep her dowry if that was the case. But if it's like more of like a no-fault deal, then, first, I don't know how I don't think they would. Really, that money would then be going to the children, basically, later on, or the children of that marriage, essentially. The only other thing that, like, doesn't involve divorce, but if she's a widow and doesn't have any children or something like that, then, she can get remarried and the dowry would go that way. But the husband's property in a widow situation would go to the children of that marriage, not to anything else. But her dowry would be hers. I want to know percentages. This, both sides to it, Hanaya doesn't cut it. Exactly. I don't buy that at all. And there's a lot of guys getting wrecked in this that they're not talking about because they don't care. This is the same manifestation of this Lindsay Clancy stuff that we're seeing. They just don't care. But what about the women? What does that mean for women who are probably the ones initiating the divorce, And they literally said in here that they're pretty much saying that they're not in love anymore, If I had to guess, the culture has changed to the point where women are comfortable enough to cheer on unfortunately. This, both sides to it, Hanaya doesn't cut it. The tradcons will say the men didn't lead hard enough or didn't Jesus hard enough. Mark it down. Yeah, exactly. Which is ridiculous.
What are the outcomes of these gray divorces? And maybe you could break that down a bit between men
what
and
they're
women.
trying to do is they're trying to make it like they're trying to find an objective marker. They're trying to say, okay, let's just look at the finances for these women 10 years down the line. Oh, the women fare worse. Therefore, women are the victim. But they're not looking at the choices made and assigning any accountability to it. Like, this woman's lack of financial planning, and if they're doing that en masse, is their own problem. But what they're doing is they're trying to attach this to a metric and be like, oh, they're worse off than the men. Therefore, they're the victims. You know what I mean? It's like it's a sleight of hand in my opinion.
Our research has shown is that there are challenges for women and men alike. I mean, adjusting to divorce is challenging regardless of whether you've initiated the divorce or you're the one who is left holding the bag and being told that their spouse no longer wants to be married to them.
Okay, she didn't break that up by gender, but I'm willing to guess most of the ones left holding the bag, a very small bag, is going to be the guy, and the ones that are leaving are the women. But we'll see. They don't mention that.
What we're finding for older adults is that it takes a bit longer to bounce back. So for younger people, it might take them a year or two. For older adults,
see, and I don't like that either. Oh, it only takes a year or two to bounce back. I don't buy that. Even for younger people, divorce is devastating for even younger people. If someone gets divorced in their 30s, still really tough. It takes a good amount of years to bounce back. I don't trust their metric. I think it's some statistical sleight of hand.
Taking on order of more like 4 years. And this is spanning the gamut in terms of whether we're talking about psychological well-being, emotional well-being, economic well-being. We can imagine that you've spent 20, 30 years accumulating your nest egg, and then when you get divorced, you're dividing it in half. And that's going to be hard to rebuild over time, especially if you're divorcing when you're on the tail end of your career. And we know that the poverty levels, for instance, are much higher for these individuals than they are for people who divorce at a younger age.
And what about the kind
They're all going to be like, but we wanted to get out. Freedom is priceless. Would dowry work in a no-fault divorce system? I mean, you know, that's a big question. I think ultimately we have to move in a direction that is the dowry ethos. You know what I mean? Again, that's the one thing I'd love to talk with James Sexton about, is really seeing what the prenup can possibly do and would it hold in court for deals like this. I think ultimately there is a pathway to where it can work. You know, I think there is a pathway. That doesn't mean it's a guarantee of the marriage lasting. And the way things are looking, just from some of these videos, it's like you might almost have to expect that there is a big chance of failure. So you have to be able to account for that for when it goes down, unfortunately, you know. What percentage of women filing divorces in gray divorce? That'd be an interesting thing to know for sure. I'm over 50. I'm the cohort they're talking about. And I know a hell of a lot of men that were just dumped for women thinking they weren't happy, looking for the sea carousel. I honestly, I think that's a lot of what it is. They're looking for love somewhere, which is all complete, you know, BS. So yeah. Okay.
of emotional consequences of divorce, does that differ by gender? I mean, I don't know, but I'm imagining that
the men are faring better, not the women.
Still easier in our society for an older man to find a new partner, perhaps even a partner who's younger, than it is an older woman. I mean, we just, you know, I wish it wasn't so, but it seems to be the case that it's harder for older women to find new partners. Does that make a difference to post-divorce satisfaction between men and women?
Yeah, I mean, older men are about twice as likely as older women to repartner after a gray divorce. We also want to be sensitive to the fact that for some people, the divorce could be what we would say is endogenous. That is, that's happening because there's another partner waiting in the wings, right? But yes, for men, they're much more likely to go on to repartner, whether that's through another marriage or cohabiting with somebody.
So there are two factors here. There's the financial factor and then a loneliness.
Sounds like a choice problem. I mean, again, I think the women just don't want to do that.
Factor. And I imagine if people...
So the women don't want to repartner and they want to live by themselves, which is a more expensive way of living. So you're looking for a more expensive lifestyle in some ways. Divorce is like death. It's a wound that never heals completely. I could see that, honestly. Men don't bounce back from divorce because 1/4 of their income is already gone. Yeah, I think they're doing their best to paint a rosy picture for the men and then just make it seem like women have it the worst. Would the United States honor a prenup if you included the dowry? I don't even know if you'd have to call it as such. You could just say this is income that's being used for this. That's, you know, hers. And these are the conditions of how the income's used. And here's what happens in different situations of a divorce. So if there's adultery on his end or on her end, what happens with this money? If she wants to leave for a no fault, this is what happens with this money. If he wants to leave for a no fault, this is what happens with this money. So how much of that stuff could you put in a prenup? Whether or not you call it a dowry, it doesn't matter. It's just money contributed. And what the deal is, basically. And if that could work in a prenup and be considered to have some standing in court that can actually be done, then good. That's if you want to get the marriage license. If you don't want to get the marriage license and you guys both contribute your money, then that's a different thing. You can buy shared property and figure out how to divide that. Or you can, you know, it's just better to keep your finances separate at that point and contribute what you both will to this shared endeavor, basically. Gray divorce is devastating for men, but men are resourceful if they don't self-delete. Usually, yeah, this sounds like a skill issue, honestly, in the sense of like men are going to work and do what they got to do because nobody's, no one's tripping out. Like, too bad. They might end up homeless, so they're doing what they got to do. The women just seem to have some fantastical idea of what life's going to be like outside this marriage, dump the whole thing, and then have trouble afterwards. Great divorce is devastating for men, but men are resourceful if they don't self-delete. Usually men can rebuild, but may not ever recover fully. Women take and usually get the cash and prizes. Yeah, that's what it appears to be.
Getting divorced and perhaps they don't have family nearby them, these things can compound pretty quickly to increase rates of depression and loneliness. Are you seeing that as well among people post-divorce in later life?
Yes, and we're seeing an interesting pattern in terms of who's most likely to repartner related to closeness to and proximity to your adult children. So for older adults, men and women alike, who either live near an adult child or have very close contact with an adult child, they're much less likely to repartner. And we can offer a couple explanations for that.
They say less likely or more likely?
Either live near an adult child or have very close contact with an adult child, they're much less likely to repartner. And we can offer a couple explanations for that. On the one hand, it might be that those children are discouraging their parent from repartnering.
Could be that the children are having a more active role in their parents' life and supporting them.
There's some evidence for that in the European context. At the same time, though, it's also possible that there's a substitution effect going on such that if I have a close relationship with my children, then I'm going to feel less of a need to repartner. Whereas if I don't have children nearby or who I can rely on, then I might be more motivated to go out and find myself a partner.
Part of it might have to do with inheritance and stuff too. Like that the divorce sucks so bad, they wouldn't want to get. They're just saying repartnering. They're not saying remarried, but that's an interesting thing to think about.
Broaden this out a little bit, because I do keep seeing headlines, even amongst younger people, that we are seeing a world in which people are delaying marriage. Some people are staying single for longer. They are choosing to live alone. And it seems that's a sort of situation that's been on the rise for a while. So even though the divorce rate amongst younger people isn't going up, are we in a world where people of every age are deciding that partnerships are just not the default anymore in the way that perhaps they were when I was in my 20s?
Yeah, I think you've really hit the nail on the head there. I mean, the retreat from marriage is widespread, and the reason why we're not seeing larger rates of divorce among younger people is because marriage has become much more selective. So for the baby boomers, the people who are in their 60s and 70s now, marriage was universal, and many of them got married. They experienced the divorce revolution of the 1970s. Let's just mention that the divorce rate peaked in 1979 in the United States, and since then it's fallen by 30%. Many of these people went on to repartner, to remarry, and that's part of why we're seeing this gray divorce revolution. It's because remarriages are at much higher risk of divorce. Young people today, what we're seeing is marriage is treated as a capstone experience, and only the most advantaged and affluent among.
Yeah, it's not about getting together and building something together. It's, well, once they're both done something, then I guess this is the thing you do after. Phantom Outlaw, how you doing? I don't even know where Shah's chat stands on any of this, but I'd like to say this to everyone my age, early to mid-20s. The most important choice you'll make is who you marry. Very true. I think we agree with you on that. Well, listen, man, it's who you marry and also who you decide to have a kid with. Who you decide to have a kid with, even if you're not married, that's going to have a lifetime effect on you as well. But yeah, I mean, if you're not married, it can be a little easier to deal with than the marriage part. And there are different kinds of marriages out here that you can choose. So I agree with that. When you get married, you sign a contract with another person in the state. Very true. Yeah, I think we're on the same page about that. Yeah, so cool. Thank you for that. Shout out to you, Phantom Outlaw. The Phantom has appeared from the shadows.
Us are entering marriage. We're doing it at later ages. We're doing it when we're more economically secure. And that is all to the benefit of promoting marital stability. But absolutely, marriage now is just one in an array of options. And I think older adults recognize this. And when they're no longer satisfied in their marriages, they're willing to call it quits.
So, Susan, to close, to somebody who might be watching this who has a parent or who has a
But what about the fertility rate?
grandparent who is going through a divorce, what should they understand and what could they be thinking about in terms of what they should be doing to help support?
What they should understand is that grandma and grandpappy's nest egg is being dissolved, right? So that's going to affect how much each of them needs to see themselves through. And depending on what the familial wealth looks like, if they get remarried, some of that might slide over to some completely different people. What you can understand about that is try to focus on doing what you got to do for yourself, because it sounds like it's a disaster with grandma and grandpappy, and we don't know where that's going to go.
Yeah, I think the watchword would be social support. We know that spouses tend to be the first line of defense. And when you no longer have a spouse, you're going to have to reconfigure that social support network. And it takes time to recover from divorce. As I mentioned, it can be up to 4 years for people to bounce back. But the important thing to remember is that people do recover. And so, you know, there's certainly life after divorce.
Okay. Susan, thank you very much for joining us.
Okay, well, so, you know, this was just a topic that I thought was interesting. So I saw those videos about the gray divorce, and it's just a whole thing. Let's just look at I guess it's significant to me because it just kind of doesn't really bode well, you know, for marriage as an older age, and even for some who make it there. Seems like by and large, the majority are still okay, but almost half of them seem to not be, seem to be not making it, or at least of divorces. Almost half of them are of this age cohort. I would rather be alone than argue. I'd rather be peaceful alone than unhappy in a bad relationship. Simply put, the juice is not worth the squeeze. I'm 62 and left a dead marriage for 4 years. All of these are women, by the way, here, except maybe this person. I still have not dated and have no interest due to my peace and sanity that I have now. Life-saving, leave while you can breathe. Widowed or divorced, the last thing I would want is a new partner. People just have options that didn't exist before. I'm so happy by myself. I just wouldn't consider remarrying. These are all like older women. Those who divorce later in life are often simply correcting mistakes they made in their youth. It's better to be alone. I mean, it feels like they're all pulling the plug when it's time to start giving, the husband his medicine. You know what I mean? And you actually got to do a little bit of caregiving for the husband that provided for you your whole life. You know what I mean? Then it's like, oh, hell no, I don't want to do that. God forbid they got to put the spoon in the rice pudding and help the guy eat. You know what I mean? Let's just get divorced. I'm guessing that one of the reasons that there is now less divorce in the younger generations is because the younger generations aren't getting married in large numbers. Yes. People don't feel like they have to suffer in an unhappy suffer. Like, see, this is the language around marriage. It's suffering and it's suffocating. And oh my God, I'm not free. I want freedom. Oh, you're just arguing all the time. The discourse around it is so bad in this culture. People now understand that you don't need to live with someone to be content. Fewer and fewer people are getting married too. I love being divorced, single, and all by myself. Thank you very much. Notice that she didn't dare to ask who initiates the divorce. There you go. Oh, and there's 36 replies. Women, exactly. Women initiate divorce. Most men don't initiate because they benefit from staying married. All right, here comes this. Also, many men are married but operate as single, so if they can have both worlds, why would they divorce? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yes, the number is 66% by women. They're unhappy. People, not marriages, and most women are unhappy. Patriarchy sucks for everyone, but especially for wives. Man, people are just so out of their minds. I love being divorced, single, and all by myself. I think once they're empty nesters, spending more time together alone, couples are faced with an unhappy marriage. You have to decide if you're going to spend another 20 years with this person. Divorce is sad. That is quite a generalization. What's sad is an unhappy marriage. Oh, gosh. Yeah. Widowed 13 years at 49 and remaining single until death do us part. So it looks like she's sticking with it. The more noble route here would appear. People underestimated the importance of peace in their lives. Once you have it, you don't want to go back. Oh my gosh. Yeah, all right, here's some. When retirement comes, it's often too much time at home if you have a controlling partner. Anger seems to be the go-to control, and it's a terrible way to live. I don't know. It just sounds like more sad stories. Just so many sad stories and feel sorry for me and this and that, Gosh. Yeah, that's I think that's where we're at. I saved one more brain rot. I don't know how this is gonna work, but let's just see this one. This one is how all older men in fruitful, happy, healthy relationships be talking to me. Let's see what the older men in fruitful, happy relationships gotta say to a young guy.
Wow, man, you got this big ass house, happy kids. How did you? Happy wife, happy life. Yeah, I'm just gonna.
The guy's got no happy wife, happy life, and then bam, you get the great divorce.
Happy. Listen to me. You live your life. Oh, don't be like me. All right. Don't be like me.
Oh my gosh, my ex's father, when I asked him to marry her, you'll throw your life away. 18 years later, I got nothing to show in life, Lamel. If you guys, let's see. The absolute worst feeling, in my opinion, is the feeling you get when you go to a house of a married man. He has those dense footsteps and the house is usually quiet until the woman enters the home. It's like a docile lion. Like, how am I looking up to you and you're telling me don't do something I feel is healthy? Oh, man. I worked at a nursing home fresh out of high school for a little bit. Not one man came through there and said, get married. It was the best decision I ever made. They all would fall back behind their wives, going into the dining hall and say, if I can give you any advice, don't get married. That's crazy. Oh, man. Then a little chuckle and blank stare and walk into the dining hall. Wow. Yeah. I don't know, man. That was just, anyways, last Instagram of the night, just to kind of have that for the fun. Okay. All right, legends. I think we did okay tonight. Let me just give one more run through here. Lady on the right thinks she's smarter than she is. She's not honest, and she's using sleight of hand in her conclusions and that voice. I could never deal with that every day. Yeah, there's a whole lot of yeah, I agree with that, Luke. I'm not. They don't seem to be drilling deeper down into this, and part of me thinks that's almost on purpose, Man, I focus on my physical health, mental health, and spiritual health. Doing well for myself. Shout out Waterburger, man. Good to see you again. I think the question to ask with the huge increase of divorce is, should we start legalizing prostitution? Well, that's something John from It's Complicated has brought up. He's done an episode on that, and he's mentioned that in a few places. This is more a reasonable question than you could ever imagine. Yeah, I guess it's an interesting question. I mean, if people aren't going to be married, and yeah, I don't know. I guess if you look at, like, has there been an increase in that in the black market? And maybe if that's true, then it might just be something we're going towards anyways. Our species had a good run. The universe is empty enough to not miss us when we're gone. Man, shout out to you, Orem. Damn, that was dark. It did seem a little dark, yeah. I kind of feel a little not the best about tonight's subject because it did seem kind of dark. I mean, that's kind of sad, Typically, it's like you look at the elder people that are married and you're like, oh, I wonder, how do they do that? They're supposed to have like these words of advice and all this kind of stuff, but this one wasn't that good news. Can we have a prenup that prevented someone from filing no-fault divorce if fault divorce is available in your state? I don't think so. I think that's impossible. Like it would. I think you can have a certain consequences for if someone filed it, but I don't think you could prevent them from filing it. I don't think that's a possibility. Anyways, y'all, let's get some music going. Let's get some music going. All right, the jingle of Saint Nick. All right, guys, we made it. We made it. I want to get some more 10-minute videos out to you guys. I know I say this all the time. I've been pretty busy with stuff, man, but deep down, I want to do them. I want to do them. I really do. Shout out to Dan the Man for that amazing story. We're going to do Robin Hood next week. You too, bro. Love your channel. Thank you so much, Waterburger, man. I appreciate that a lot. That makes me feel pretty good, man. I might do some video game streaming tomorrow on my gaming channel, which is This Is Shah Gaming. I haven't done that in a while either. It's so hard for me, man. It's like when I sit down, I'm going to play a video game. Then I'm like, oh, I guess I should read a book first or something. You know, like I got a stack of books right here. You know, I got another stack over there. So then it's just like, I just read anything so I can just absorb more like nuggets of information that may or may not come in handy. But I want to get into the games. And that's why I made the channel, you know. Yes, that is the next logical step. Thank you, Michael. Thanks for being here, Michael. Speaking the truth is necessary, even if it's dark. I can hear you on that. I appreciate everybody that was here. I appreciate all the super chats from all the folks. You know, it's very generous. It was a pleasure seeing everybody, and I hope folks have a good week. I'm grateful tomorrow's Sunday. Hope everybody gets back to, you know, work and goes hard at it, and that you guys do a good job of just, you know, enjoying your life and working hard and improving and protecting yourself. You know, it's tough out there. It's amazing. And shout out to all the gold pillars out there. We've got an amazing community going, which I'm grateful for. So very happy about that and grateful. Hopefully we'll get some more stuff coming down the pipeline and be able to go for that. Dan the Man says, Luke Nielsen says, I got a stack of books I'm always reading too. Yeah, that's just how it is. Like, it's just always there, you know? So you're like, I got to do this. You got post the stories on your channel. I know, Dan. I'm so sorry, man. Dan the Man, keep the videos coming, bro. I like listening to your videos. Chris Stelzer, if you're out there, I like listening to your videos too. I was listening to Chris's video this morning. It was fantastic. Yo, my Uncle Ira says hi. Yo, shout out Uncle Ira. And shout out Nasuji and all the homies in Canada. Yo, Nasuji, I uploaded the Osmo vlog footage to the Google Drive today. I didn't have that much footage this time around, which, you know, I don't feel too good about, but I tried to be in the moment a bit. Let's see. Let's see what the next song is. Let's get Deadbeat Woman going on. Steven Baskerville says he wants me and Sean Paul Elam on his show next. That'd be a fun one. Maybe one of these days we can get that going. You did I appreciated listening to you and Steven's and Emil Space's conversation. You guys had a real synergy there, especially when you were talking about like the covenant and the biblical marriage history. That was fun stuff. I actually, even though it was kind of diverging from like the subject, I didn't care. I just thought it was a good discussion. Klaus says, great stream. Have a good and peaceful night, everybody. Thank you, Klaus. Thanks for being here. I appreciate everybody who comes in and keeps this stream alive with me. Shout out to all of y'all. You know, I'd like to take it to the next level. Deadbeat woman. Deadbeat woman. Mm-hmm. Man, this song goes hard right here. Have a great night, dude. Thank you to Suji. Appreciate you, brother. We got to get some gaming in soon. See you, Klaus. Sweet. Thanks, man. I can't wait to finish the vid. I'm looking forward to it, man. Honestly, I appreciate you doing all that. It's going to be tight. You read Chuck Palahniuk's Stranger Than Fiction? I've never read that. I have read his book Fight Club. I used to I have it right here. It's behind all my cassettes. I do have this one. But that's the only book from him I ever had, to be honest. I got that one years ago, man. I was in high school when I got that book. Yeah. Oh, man. Thanks, Shah, for keeping our Saturday fun. I appreciate that. Thanks for coming in and helping me with that. Without y'all, man, there's not a show, so that's a big deal to me. Graham Millar says, gotta get me some Leon sunglasses now. Yeah, these are a replica. They were still like $100 and something bucks, but because the original, like the actual brand that made them, it's like thousands of bucks. But for like $130, man, these are pretty dang good, honestly. So yeah. Great stream, bro. Thank you, Gio. Appreciate you. Orem says that is an excellent book. I think the ending is actually better in the movie, though. Yeah, I think you're right about that, Orem. I don't want to spoil the ending, but yeah, I agree with you. Thanks, Shah. Great stream as always. I got some more stories to make. Maybe Jack and the Beanstalk next. I think that would be fun. I'll be thinking of some other ones too. Shah, looks like you need to grow that hair out. I think I might have to grow that hair out. The way Dan portrayed me in that Count of Monte Dowry, I think I might have to do that. It looked pretty good. So anyways, y'all, salute to the gold pillars. Till next time. And, we're going to keep this whole thing moving. I will see y'all on the next one. And hopefully I can get some more content to y'all before next